This channel may contain graphic or disturbing references to sensitive topics, including, but not limited to, sexual abuse, self-harm, violence, eating disorders, and similar subjects. These may appear in the form of images, video clips, audio, text passages, or discussions. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. If you are sensitive to these names, please proceed with caution or skip content as appropriate. Under Section 7 of the Copyright Act of 1986, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing non-profit as a personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. All other rights to copyrighted material belong to their respective owners. This channel operates in good faith under these principles where applicable.
Hey guys, welcome to Mind Chaos Brew. I am joined today by my good sister, Miss Lola O'June, honey. Yes, and today we are going to be reviewing Just Pearly Things and her debate with Ana. Honey, Ana Kasparian gave her the absolute business. Yes, when we are doing review shows, we will always start with a disclaimer, just so you know what you are getting into so your minds can be ready. Okay, so now, have you heard about this debate?
I have not.
Okay.
I am so glad because I took a break from that bitch.
Well, this is the thing. She's gained a lot of notoriety in the Black manosphere spaces. So Black manosphere has a tendency to do really a lot of reactions. And I found it very interesting that nobody has been trying to review, react, or have any commentary in regards to this situation. Like, it's an interesting debate, and it speaks to allegedly a lot of the talking points that she uses in this sector. So and that's actually caused for content creators to fall out in these spaces, right? Like, I'm not going to name drop any of the content creators. If you know, then you know. But people have stopped dealing with each other because of her rhetoric on panels. So she has lost so poorly that this was her reaction on her channel.
I know you're saying I did great. I absolutely, you guys got to stop gassing me up. I did not. The first half, I did great at certain points. Yeah, I know. Don't try to remember everything. Focus on the stuff you know really well. I know that was. Yeah, do you know what? But, even though I lost this debate and I thought about it, I know that I did everything I could. I wish my nerves did not overcome me, but they did. And I know I studied, like, from the time I knew about the debate to the time that I did it. You know, this girl has 20 years of debate experience. I wish I did better, but I didn't. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, I'm sorry, guys. I really do wish I did better, but there's just sometimes it's very difficult talking to someone that'll go low, because then you just have to go lower. And if you stay high, you just have to listen to them, kind of bitch at you for an hour. 1 second. Hold on.
Now, further along in this video, she goes on to say that she wishes she would have beat her up. Now, what I find intriguing about her review, and we will come back to it, is that her title literally is "I Took an L, but Anna nagged men out of marriage anyway." Now, the debate was about modern topics. It wasn't about anything personal. So it's such a juxtaposition when you start out your reaction or whatever with, well, when they go low, you have to go lower. So I want to review the debate, and I may drop the link for other people to come up if they would like to join, but we're going to look at this debate. We're going to see wherever Anna went low enough that her divorce should be mentioned. Was she just considered to be going low because she won?
Well, the way she's framing this, I can almost guess, because when you lose, first of all, if you enter a debate, you enter the debate at your own risk, and you know why you're getting into that debate, because you feel that you have the facts to support what you're saying. This is what you truly believe. Now, a true debater can debate both sides of an argument and win both times. However, if you are true blue, as they say, and you feel like, listen, I got the facts, the stats, her having 20 years of debate experience has nothing on the facts. The truth is, you didn't present enough facts or the right facts, and you didn't do your due diligence and your homework. So it's like, I see how she's framing her loss, and it's, yeah, I can tell it's not, it ain't what she ain't telling the truth. I can just tell. Forget my bias towards her. I can tell.
Right, because if she would have won that debate, would you then have said, well, I don't even know how I won, because she had 20 years of debate experience? But we're not going to go off of conjecture. We're not going to just, so, well, maybe. What we're going to do is we're going to watch and discuss live reaction. This is a double blind. This usually doesn't happen. Okay. Now, Miss Oshun does usually wind up coming to the show, and I'm just like, girl, we about to do this. Here's a link. Come live. But today, this is a double blind because I haven't watched it either.
Okay.
All right. Let's begin. Let's buckle in, ladies and gentlemen. And if you are watching on the vertical, please double tap the screen. If you're watching on the horizontal, please hit the like button, share it out. And if you're catching this on a replay, please be sure to hype the video. And more people, I think, should watch debates like this, even if it's not your sector or your niche content, and make reactions, because these debates actually make the world go round. And they have heavy implications in regards to like the political world as well. If you don't really understand politics and policy, this is a good avenue to open the door. Let's begin.
In a May 2024 appearance on Tim Pool's Culture War podcast, my opponent, Pearl Davis, declared that women aren't really doing much. We're not having kids. We're not really contributing to the economy when you look at output. In fact, she uses this ridiculous assertion to argue that women should not have the right to vote. While it's true the birth rate has declined, and we'll revisit that in a bit, women account for 47% of the American workforce. The Council of Economic Advisors found that women have contributed a substantial portion of the US economic growth since 1970, which wouldn't have been made possible without the feminist movement. By 2017, women were responsible for nearly 40% of total gross domestic product, amounting to a whopping $7.6 trillion. Of course, that figure doesn't include the trillions of dollars in unpaid labor women do every year, tending to the household, raising children, and caring for ailing parents. And when it comes to certain sectors of our economy, women are a dominant and indispensable force. Like in the healthcare industry, where they make up nearly 80% of workers, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That's 16.4 million women. When it comes to education, in 1960, women earned less than 35% of all bachelor's degrees. Today, they earn roughly 58% of all bachelor's degrees, which Pearl herself benefited from after graduating from Elmhurst University. Women also earn over 60% of master's degrees. I hope to hear Pearl explain how a more educated and skilled population somehow translates to cultural decline, especially as we compete with China in this increasingly multipolar world. The modern feminist movement also had a major impact on decreasing domestic violence, and that's according to the US Department of Justice. Rates of intimate partner violence decreased by more than 60% from 1994 to 2010. And that's thanks to protective order statutes and funding for shelters beginning in the 1970s and 80s. Not only did the two-income household become more financially resilient, especially during economic downturns, women gained the ability to leave abusive relationships, an outcome correlated with improved child health and educational attainment. A culture that protects people from violence is not one that's indicative of cultural decline. Pearl herself has benefited greatly from the feminist movement, thanks to Title IX in 1972, signed by Nixon, of course. Sex-based discrimination in any school program or activity that receives federal funding is prohibited. Pearl herself had a rather impressive record playing for Elmhurst University's volleyball team, having earned all conference honors as a senior. She later pursued professional volleyball in London. She could have stayed in the United States and served in her role as a traditional woman, but she didn't. And she could have been the traditional chaste woman living out her dream of everything women were supposed to do before feminism, but she is neither traditional nor chaste by her own admission. While
all right.
You stopped it at a good point. Good girl.
Ooh, and she still got a minute left. My God, today. Anna. Hey, girl, hey. Oh, you belong on an episode of FBI because, my God, she read that woman for the facts of her life. But you ain't had to say she was neither chaste nor virtuous, and that wasn't nice.
No, she isn't. And here's the thing: she's sparing her even with that, because I know what she really pointing at in terms of the not chaste part. She, Pearl, has spent her little bit of womanly years doing non-traditional things with non-traditional relationships. Right? She has. And my thing is, if you want to become a celebrity female volleyballist, that's the equivalent of a basket degree. Mind you, whatever school you went to and got your degree, you're not working in that field. So it's like you are a typical example of what you're talking about, but it's not about women. It's about you. Because not everybody, but anybody who wants to work in the field that they went to school in can do that. But if you don't do no research and you go into a field like Pearl, and then you end up, I don't know, becoming a podcaster after you done got a degree that you done paid almost $150K for in loans. I mean, I don't know. But then again, her father probably paid for that while she decided to be a non-traditional woman and chase her dreams of becoming a professional volleyballist.
I would say I'll have to give a little pushback on that and say she is in fact using her degree, because she went to Elmhurst University for economics. So even though she's anti-feminist, she should be able to better argue her points because she's studied economics. And I'm going to tell you, as someone that is currently studying economics, the way you have to critically think in that field of study is quite critical. So some of her talking points, it just gives more context to how she presents her arguments most times, and how she has a tendency to skew the numbers in her advantage. When she's quoting statistics, when she's extrapolating information from said statistics, she's actually operating off of comparative advantage instead of absolute advantage, right? And this is where a lot of people speak when they're talking about these numbers. They're not doing the deep dive, but I heard that Anna kind of got at her on specific numbers that she used during this debate and that she has consistently used across debates. But Pearl, it's already starting off like, let's continue, because I want to hear the rest of this, and then we'll listen to Pearl.
That's the same Anna from what, the Young Turks, I think it is. Is that it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Feminists would have no problem with her personal choices. She has made a career bashing women for theirs. Critics often argue that modern feminism has weakened families and resulted in a lower birth rate. They tend to dismiss empirical evidence demonstrating the insidious impact of the internet, social media on modern relationships. They also brush economic instability under the rug, despite young people citing their personal finances as the main reason why they're holding off on marriage in the first place. In lieu of discussing those factors, Pearl spends much of her time discouraging men from getting married in the first place. During her debate with Trent Horn, she declared that men are better off shacking up without ever getting married. Her reasoning? Women are too fat and STD infected.
25%, that's a lot.
You did say that.
Why is she? So this is the issue this is an issue. And I always talk about debate politics and how one should have a debate. A lot of spaces online don't understand, hey, YouTube unfolded. They don't understand the rules and etiquette of debate. During someone's opening statement, you better write a note. Once you start jumping in, number one, you give your opposing debater the advantage, because now they know how to trigger you to make you break frame and stay off of your points during said debate. Hey, T-Pre. So, what did you think about that? Especially knowing now that she has a bachelor's in economics and she probably had to do a debate class for her degree.
I didn't know that prior about Pearl, but knowing that now, that puts context into why people would criticize her, because she does have a baseline degree that teaches her how to look at statistics, how to look at finances, how to look at social impact in finances and statistics and sociology, as that is where that's concerned. But it doesn't make her look smarter. It makes her look dumber, honestly, because none of that degree is working for her. It's working against her at this point. So it's like nothing that she spews is something that any university would back up. So it's like, I mean, this is weird just to even know, wait a minute, you had a degree. You were better off not having no degree and making your points based on, anecdotal experience. Like, you were better off than that. But I get why Anna is saying that. She's basically saying this lady has every resource available to her, yet she is doing the very thing that she's complaining of, essentially presenting her as a case study of individual issues, not sociological issues. Most women that go to college because they want to utilize that in some form, not go to college and basically, I don't know, be a fuck up, okay, with said degree. That's not why they go. But again, everybody wants the freedom to learn and educate themselves and better themselves until they get where they need to be at. But one thing that Anna did not mention is she kind of danced on it a little bit about social media, but what she's not looking at and saying, which now I'm going to watch Anna a little more closely. Pearl only adopted this attitude when the manosphere became a thing. And there was an opening for women who could speak on behalf of Black men specifically. The white manosphere wasn't having white women up in there running anything. There was an opening for someone of her status, a white woman, a minority, so she would call herself, and say, okay, there's an opening for me to speak on behalf of men because somebody needs to do that, and there's money involved in it. So this is why she is remotely opening her mouth about this, because otherwise she would be playing volleyball, making baskets, baking cookies, or opening up, I don't know, a law firm under her father's name or some shit. Like, that's what she would be doing. So this right here is a money grift for her. And this is why Anna has to substantiate, you have a degree, you should understand basic things, but somehow you don't. And the reason why she's not saying, she's kind of leaving that part kind of blank. Maybe she's doing it on purpose, but the way Pearl responded to the fat comment and say 25% is high. And it's like, girl, you should understand, somebody like her, she does her homework on people. I've seen her do her homework on a lot of more important people in this world and got that shit off. So for you to say, well, that's high, you may be not remembering what you're saying, but like you said, Raw, the best thing for you to do is write a note as a debater and say, before you start your opening piece, you might address real quick little points that you need to clear up that she said and keep it moving. But for you to just make an outburst, that just shows you definitely don't need to be on that stage. But Pearl, somebody got her hyped up, probably that crew she was working with over there in Europe. That's them colonized Negroes. But never mind, go ahead before I get started.
You're so silly. Yes, but this is the thing. I can't say for sure if she has a bachelor's. I know that that's where she went to college, was the Elmhurst University. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if she actually completed all the coursework to qualify for a degree. Now, Ana Kasparian has a master's degree in political science. Mm-hmm. So again, yes, it is, Steph. Hey, Steph the best. But here's the thing, right? Know your opponent. Mm-hmm. If I know I'm going to debate with someone that has a master's in political science, I might just have to preemptively take the L. Mm-hmm. Or really be on my grind studying not just the subject matter of the debate, but the individual. Yeah. And Pearl had an advantage because she is from TYT. So there is a lot of footage on this woman. Mm-hmm. Her debating style. What does she actually go to? What are her talking points? What is her history? Where can you have an advantage in the conversation? What is her stance on this particular topic? How can you debunk her? And again, debating is a skill. Shout out to Dana with the data. Now, I have had some really great debates on YouTube. I just been kind of being low key because I have real life going on, and I'm, getting honor roll merits, going for presidential lists and stuff like that in my profession. So I don't really have time to be running around social media all day cutting up. When I finish, I'll be back. We working on things in the interim. But let's hear what Pearly Things opening is going to be, and if she's done any investigation into Anna.
She didn't stop to think about how they contracted the STDs in the first place. Data from the National Library of Medicine show that modern men are just as promiscuous as modern women. Men and women are in bad shape, and in the United States, we can discuss why, but feminism is not the reason.
Very good. Thank you.
Now, she did go a little bit over time, but the moderator let it rock, I think, because Pearly did interrupt her opening statement.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Pearly's like boring and laughing. So let's see if Anna maintains the same integrity as she should. Also, let me move us a little bit because in the horizontal, we are blocking their faces. Well, like this. And then maybe like this. Okay. So let's listen.
Nice job. Okay. Pearl, we got 5 minutes. You're going to be on the clock, and let's go.
Most debaters and commentators are elitists who tell average Americans from their ivory towers what to think and how to feel. My answer to this question not only comes from covering current events and researching the facts, data, and statistics, but also in my professional experience interviewing over 1,000 people in America and Western nations. Feminism has given women power, and power corrupts. And that's what's happening. Feminism is robbing men of their disposable income and their prime earning years. Feminism has empowered women. It has empowered women to be sexually promiscuous. Feminists say that they fought for women to not subject themselves to the approval of men. Why then are 5 to 10% of women between the ages of 18 to 25 on OnlyFans or other prostitution websites? There are more online prostitutes in America than female Walmart employees. 1 of 3 women will catch an STD at some point in their lifetime. 90% will catch HPV, which is incurable. Feminism has empowered women to abort 1/8 of the world population and 1/3 of Gen Z. Feminists have been so empowered to commit paternity fraud. Paternity fraud is unpunished in any state in the USA or any country in the West. If done correctly, a man will have to pay for a child he was fooled into believing was his until that child reaches maturity. In some states, that man will also have to pay for that kid's college. That is slavery and is forbidden under the 13th Amendment. 1/3 of paternity tests are negative by the American Association of Blood Banks. Feminism has empowered women to rob men of their time, their resources, their reputation, their children, and in the most extreme cases, their lives. They do this through child support, alimony, false allegations, and paternity fraud. How many people in this arena have a brother, a father, an uncle, or a friend who has gone through this meat grinder? Anna has been on the air for 15 years and is completely oblivious to these issues. It's a silent genocide.
Now, Anna, you know you wasn't supposed to stoop to her level. You know you was not supposed to jump in there and interrupt her. You were supposed to let her talk her stuff. Now, Pearl, you have interviewed thousands, a couple thousand, maybe a little over 1,000. But there are, what's up, Idonta? How you doing? There are billions, 8.3 billion people in the world. That's the global populace, globally. Okay, so that little number is just is insanity, right? Number one. Number two, paternity fraud can be debunked, right? You can fight against paternity fraud. Number one, if you've never slept with a woman. So yes, there are some women that engage negatively in paternity fraud, but the 13th Amendment doesn't actually make slavery illegal against the United States. What it says is if you commit a crime against the United States, you become a slave of the criminal justice system. Paraphrasing.
Right.
But you went to university, child. You got something you want to go ahead.
But let me say this: as someone who used to be a child support case management enforcement officer, I can tell you women are not the only ones committing paternity fraud. And it's not at the same rate as women, but I'm telling you it has the same effect. And there's a lot of women that have file for child support because they literally were not being supported any other way, and they needed the state to step in to force the play. And then when that happened, obviously there was fraud involved from the man's side, where, and there's a couple ways to commit paternity fraud there, and it does happen. And at the same time, guess what? It's nothing the state can do. It's just nothing the state can do. And if you want to sue, obviously you're going to have to have a lot of lawyers to do that. But my point to her is, if your issue is paternity fraud, that's not a matter of feminism. That's a matter of a loophole in a system where you're telling someone, hey, you're going to be fined if you don't pay this amount.
And I think you lost audio for a minute, so that's fine.
Like, what does that have to do with anything? But I digress.
No, you're cool, because what does that have, child? She a system constructed by men because men were lacking. This is another point that a lot of these, a lot of people that spew these talking points fail to realize. The systems that they're complaining about, in fact, were created by men and by men of means. By men of means to address an issue. So is the issue really women and women's behavior, or is it a lack of people staying updated on policy and power? But let's continue.
Of the lives of millions of men. Standing on the sidelines of the arena, I have 33-year combat veteran Terrence Popp. He served through 3 wars and was almost killed in 2. He got married, had 2 children, and served in the United States Army. Terrence Popp was deployed to Iraq in 2004, and as a member of the airborne infantry, he was wounded by a roadside bomb and suffered a TBI and a stroke from the blast. He was evacuated out of the country, and it took over 2 years until he had recovered. While he was recovering, his wife was plotting to divorce him. His wife murdered his 6-year-old chocolate lab out of spite because he filed for divorce first. When he confronted her, the response he got was, "I told you I did not want you living here." At this point, he was forced to leave the marital home and live out of his car. The divorce took away his home, his children, and left him penniless and saddled with a child support payment he could not afford. Terrence had to pay $144,000 over a 12-year period for a divorce that his wife was empowered by feminists to plan and execute. Terrence went into court to fight for 50-50 custody. Terrence was called a murderer and an assassin in open court and was given 96 hours a month with his children. 96 hours a month is not a father. While homeless, he spoke to many other men who would never get off the streets due to child support arrearages and penalties, and the men constantly getting arrested for unpaid child support. The disparage of losing his children and his home, and his PTSD and constant pain from his wounds, he became suicidal. While at his post in 2008, a former commander of his came to see him to secretly say his last goodbyes. The next day, Mr. Popp's former commander put on his dress blues and went to the Holy National Veteran Cemetery and blew his brains out. Terrence Popp was notified of the death and was shocked because he was planning to commit suicide in the exact same manner. So in effect, his former commander took the bullet that was meant for him. Terrence Popp decided he would not kill himself and has spent the last 20 years saving 576 men from suicide with comedy. If you look to the left of the stage, Terrence is holding the dog tags for every life that he has saved. Now, why am I telling you this? Shout out to Terrence. Yeah. Now, why am I telling you this? Because men and American veterans are put in this position because of the empowerment that feminists like Anna have pushed for. There are millions of men that have died in this country from the political power that feminism pushes. Since 1970, an estimated 1.6 million men have committed suicide.
Time. Stop it.
If feminists cared about equality, why aren't they fighting for equality in divorce and family court as hard as they are fighting for abortion, working, or becoming sex workers? Thank you.
Look at her face. Her face lets you know that she knows that wasn't necessarily the greatest opening. First of all, she doesn't really give professional, right, in this debate. from her handwritten notes to this wrinkle outfit that she has on to her using an anecdotal conversation of someone in the audience. Yes, it is very sad what happened to that man, but we do not know the nuances of why. Right, she's just reading. Now, on the clip that we showed from her live stream, yeah, I know. It's not giving. No feeling, no inflection, nothing. She said she studied a lot. She really prepared for this debate. So you guys know sometimes I have notes and I read from my notes when I'm doing my live stream. I'm not going to pretend like I don't. However, there are certain points to a production, to a podcast, to a debate that you don't read verbatim off of a paper. You don't script. The opening and the closing in a debate is the most important parts of it, especially in a live debate like this, because your goal is to capture the attention of your audience. This is your time to really engage them, have them sitting on the edge of their seats, waiting to hear what you are going to say to further shore up your opening argument. Her opening argument is that, you know, hey, women are horrible, women are whores, and look, there's this one guy at band camp that had to pay $12,000 a year for child support. He can never afford that. Well, as a veteran, there are programs. Now, is Veterans Affairs doing, you know, the best job they can do at attending to our veterans that come home? No, they're not. They can do better. However, there's a lot of help. I don't understand why people act like it is an issue for one spouse to have to leave a marital home. As someone that's going through divorce in the United States of America, let me tell you the procedure. What the procedure is number one, you have to be legally separated, meaning different addresses, for 12 months before you start the process for divorce. So they should never have been in the same house anyway. And adults should be able to take care of themselves, just like in regards to the Christie and Desmond Scott case. Everybody's like, yeah, he's going to have to leave and she's going to get to keep the house. No, someone has to buy out the equity in the home, even when infidelity is involved. When infidelity is involved at a state that weighs into account infidelity in the divorce process, that just shifts the equity division comparative to what was being done. If she didn't have to pay anything, that means the whole entire time she was a housewife, she didn't do anything. She didn't have any equity and she didn't commit or contribute to that marriage. Now, I know Anna brings up this stat, but I've brought it up several times over the years. Only 10% of marriages actually qualify for spousal support for an extended period of time. Because unless you're married for 5 to 10 years, spousal support is not even on the table. And if you don't have joint assets and you only have debt, you also do not qualify for spousal support. So we're having a conversation, or she's having a conversation, and a lot of people in these spaces have conversations that are really irrelevant and inconsequential because financially, sorry, no shade to anybody, y'all don't fit the bill nor the quota to be able to have to afford to take care of a spouse in the event of a dissolution of marriage. But let's continue.
Okay, this is gonna be a heavy one. We're gonna go now to the opening interrogations. We have 10 minutes. Do we have that on the clock? Yeah, it's fading in right there. Okay, and take it away. 10 minutes.
Who's interrogating who?
Whoever wants to begin.
Aside from the specific anecdote that you shared, which of course is tragic, can you cite some actual studies that look at the statistics and back up what you say in regard to the outcomes of marriage and divorce in America?
41% of 109 rape cases reported to police in a Midwestern city were admitted to be false by complainants.
In one Midwestern city? And which Midwestern city was that?
You know, you can go from your ivory tower and
I'm
tell
not in an
people what
ivory
to
tower.
think
I'm
and
on
how
this
to
debate
feel.
stage interrogating your assertions, and you've only provided an anecdote.
Right.
Because
It's
if you
not-
look at the data, which I did, of course, you'll find that women are twice as likely to fall into poverty after divorce.
Right, because they can't stop
Alimony is paid
spending.
out in 10% of divorces. According to the Census Bureau, the average child support payment is $441 a month, and only 60%
Right, but how
of
much are
those
they
payments
making?
get paid out.
How much?
Women do not get child custody 90% of the time, as you have asserted before. In fact, 95% of custody cases are mutually agreed upon outside of the courtroom. Women get full custody 40% of the time. Men do get full custody 20% of the time. And 40% of the time, it's shared custody, which I think is the ideal situation, assuming that neither spouse is abusive.
And Pearl, excuse me, before you respond.
I'm saying though, Anna's telling you nothing but facts. And again, this is something I've been telling y'all for years. And I'm so tired of the rebuttal that Pearly gave, because a lot of people give that rebuttal. Well, what about how much money he makes? Who cares? Who cares? What about the child? When a mother has full custody of a child, she doesn't get to say, well, I'm not making this much money. She has to, in fact, make it enough. And don't hit me with the social programs nonsense for mothers, because those same social programs exist for fathers that have full custody as well. And I believe non-custodial mothers, I don't care what your child support is, they are basing child support calculated off your income. You can give that money to your child, because if you don't have a good income, the child support is reflective of that. The national median child support being, what did she say, 441? When I looked it up, it was 432. That was for 2024. That's a median. That doesn't mean that every single person on child support is getting $400 and something, less than $450. There are a lot of people on that spectrum that are getting pennies, like $25 a month for their children. And there are some people on that spectrum that are getting thousands of dollars a month on that spectrum, because child support encompasses all fiduciary manners in regards to the support of children across all income levels. Oh, they don't actually care about the kids. Well, they may not, but they do care about how much money you prove that you are earning. And they do calculations. And many states also factor in the mother's income as well. If you have a child with someone that's not on social services and they go to work every day, then it's pretty balanced. And if you have a child with someone that's on social services and you're on social services, well, how are you paying alimony? I'd be confused. Many states don't even allow for alimony. Texas allows for limited spousal support, and usually only via temporary orders while the divorce proceeding is pending. Regardless of when it's awarded, spousal support is always limited and temporary. Exactly. That's right, crazy mama. It's a formula they use. Matter of fact, let me see if I can pull it up while we listen to some more of this debate.
If you could take your microphone out and hold it, it would be easier to hear you.
Okay. Alimony and medical care and dental are not covered by that, so a lot of times it does go above 50%. Again, you can go through the facts, the data, and the statistics and manipulate them any way that you want.
It's not
But
manipulation.
there are
Those are the
1.6
stats.
million. There are 1.6 million men in this country. Men are 9 times more likely to commit suicide after a divorce.
Compared to women, what's the number for women?
It's lower.
Really? What is it? Comparative analysis is real difficult for you, isn't it?
Okay.
Ma'am, did you just? Yeah, she said that. Yeah, she did. She meant that. Oh, buddy. Comparative analysis is a problem. Now, I do have some things that I was able to pull out about child support, right? So this is for Texas, guys. This is just Texas. Right. Sometimes they have the parent who makes more pay, unfortunately. And if custody is 50-50, then no support is ordered. Those are facts as well. Okay. So let's get into it. For Texas, and this is pretty standard for most states, right? The cap has increased from $9,200 to $11,700, right? Okay, cool. These are the guidelines based on monthly net resources of the obligor. One child is 20% of the obligor's next net resources. Okay, so as you add children in, the percentage goes down. So if you have other children that somebody has to have support, has an obligation to support. So if you have like 3 women and you have like 3 kids, right? In Texas, your obligation to your child is 14.75% of your net resources. Now, again, this is, and it goes and it goes and it goes and it goes, depending on the amount of kids that you have. But the net resources are determined by deducting the following from the obligor's income: expenses paid for health insurance for the obligor's children or child, if such deductions are being withheld, union dues, state income tax, federal income tax, and social security taxes. Okay, this is how we determine. And in some states, I believe it is Georgia. Georgia does a shared income model where they go by how much money the mom is making and then how much money the dad is making. And then it's a whole big fleshy deal. Hold on a second. Give me a moment. Did it actually save to my computer? It didn't. But still in all, like there's models, there's predictive models used to calculate child support. And I don't know where she's coming from with this. Hey, Bernice, I don't know where she's talking about, but what she's talking about with this, but she's insane. Yes, the formulas are very much crazy. The formulas can get a little, you know, they can get a little, they be starting something. They do. Like if you have a whole bunch of kids, then that's a problem. And that's why it is important that women especially are very selective when it comes to how they're raising their sons. Okay, because not only is it important, and let me make myself solo screen for this. Not only is it important that we teach our daughters to hold a penny, for those of you that don't know that colloquialism, is keep your legs closed. Okay, keep your legs closed, get your education, be able to support yourself and furnish a lifestyle for yourself. Don't deal intimately with anyone until you're married, right? Have a ring on your finger and some type of commitment before you conceive, right? Do your very best to get involved with someone that doesn't have any children as well, so that you guys have the best possible chances to survive the pressures of the world to rip apart your family and your marriage. We also need to teach our sons to keep their penises in their pants. But what Pearl is not speaking to is this, and this is what a lot of people don't speak to that irritates me. We live in a society that has a tendency to pump up promiscuous behavior, and it's not all on the women, because women aren't being promiscuous with themselves. 2 vaginas can never produce another life. They may be able to produce living bacteria, sure. They may be able to share living funguses, sure. But actually producing a living and breathing human being, absolutely not. So yes, women have to stop giving their vaginas away, but men have to stop taking them as well. Let's get back to the reviews.
Go ahead, Pearl.
What's your next question?
You have asserted that men shouldn't get married, that instead they should
I didn't
shack
say
up.
that.
You did say that with
did
Trent
not say
Horn,
that.
word for word. You said it makes more sense for them to shack up, live with a girlfriend instead of getting married. Do you think the advice that you give to men is the type of advice that will fulfill their lives? Because I'll tell you one thing, the best part of my life is my husband. I love my husband. He's my rock. He's my foundation. And no, my husband is number one. I love my career.
What does it take to be number one? He is number one. And this is the thing too, like these so-called anti-feminists, these so-called trad wives, they act like on one hand that they want the man to be elevated, venerated, and king. But this is not a status that you give to just any man. Even in the Bible, if you're a religious person, it tells you a woman is supposed to submit to a man that submits to God. Right? In order to be a leader, you have to earn that. You have to be able to steer your family in a direction that's going to be prosperous.
Good morning. I'm gonna.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Shout out to Tootie Bug for being a member for 13 months. Hey, last call. So, you know, it's a lot of projection. Hey, thank you for gifting a membership. Appreciate you. It is a lot of projection that's going on. But let's listen. Yeah, because she's not doing very well in this interrogation now, is she? If y'all think Pearly Things is doing well, put a 1 in the chat. If you think Anna is just dusting her, put a 2.
But you know what my career did? When I met my husband, my career was already established. He, on the other hand, was couch surfing. He was in debt and didn't know what he wanted to do with his life. I married him anyway. You want to know why? Because I had the economic freedom to marry for love, not for some Chad to take care of me.
How tall is he?
Oh, he's 6'1", about your height.
Now she said her husband is 6'1", about Pearly's height. So is she low-key calling Pearly a dude? No. Is she slick shading her? Cause it sounds like she being slick shady. Dang, I don't do that.
No, I don't want kids.
Let's not do shouting questions from there, please. Allow these two to debate each other.
Okay, what's your question?
I mean, you don't really have much to answer, so I don't know what else to ask you. Do you think you're helping men by discouraging them from entering fulfilling marriages?
What happens to men if they don't pay child support?
I mean,
what happens? What happens, Anna?
That's a very interesting response, right? Fulfilling relationships don't have to be predicated upon who is paying child support, because there's a lot of fulfilling relationships that actually don't involve children. I think Anna made a good point. Now that women are in a position to earn money, earn income, and actually contribute to their households, I personally believe marriage is a good option for a lot of men, and it affords them the opportunity to not live such stress-induced lives, because now they don't have to have the weight of supporting a wife and, you know, any number of kids by themselves. They don't have to bear the burden of that alone. But when those marriages dissolve, those that do dissolve, they still have a financial responsibility to take care of their children. And Pearl is one of those people, well, back in the day, women weren't earning any money. So they had to stay with men that were not good to them, and also having additional families that they weren't good to. Not just in the African American community, in the white community, in the Spanish community, in the Asian community, in all the communities. This goes back to biblical time. This goes back to the ancient civilizations. the Ming dynasty, the Tang dynasty, where emperors and men of power had multiple concubines and multiple women. I think when I've heard of, like, where I first heard of first wife, second wife, firstborn son, even if the firstborn son was from the third wife, that the third wife got elevated to the first wife, that I learned from Asian culture. What are we talking about? Let's continue, child.
How many men do you think get
What
arrested?
happens to
I don't know
men
what the
when they
number
don't
is,
get-
but the
What
idea that
happens
there's
to
like a
men when
huge
they
number
don't-
of men getting arrested for not doing what they're supposed to do
15%
and take care of their children, it's not a huge issue.
What happens to men when they don't
Really,
pay child support?
only
You
60%
gotta-
of
hold on,
child
hold on,
support
hold on, Anna.
payments
You
get
gotta
paid
allow
out.
her to- You got to allow her to interrogate you, not them. You got to stop yelling questions
Look,
at her.
You can minimize
Anna is bored with Pearly already, right? She's bored with Pearly already, so she's cutting up now. She's cutting up now, and Anna, come on now, girl, do it for Graham, do it for the Graham, do it for the people that are here rooting for you. We are all rooting for you, but Anna is telling the absolute truth. It is about 56% of child support cases that actually get paid at all. I think it's that get paid in full. Let me double check that stat. But no, it's 56% of cases that don't get paid. They don't get the child support page. Let me fact check that and we'll be back. Let's listen to this debate.
men's problems all you want, but I don't think you understand how privileged of a position you're in.
In what way? How am I privileged?
Men are the ones that are on the hook for child support. Men are the ones that are on the hook for alimony. It's easy for you to tell men to just take the risk when you're not in that position.
So are you asserting that men shouldn't pay child
Men-
support following a divorce? Do you believe that women should
feminists
be
wanted-
financially
feminists-
responsible 100% after a divorce?
Feminists wanted to be equal. So I say be equal. If you guys want equality, 50-50 custody, no child support, no alimony, no special privileges.
Alimony is paid.
So did she want her friend to have 50-50 custody while he was homeless? I'm just saying real quick, that is a major factor. Her anecdotal proof was that, well, you know, he was homeless and he had to pay all of this money and wow. So he was supposed to go, the kids were supposed to go half the time, and child, and put myself over Pearly face. Let me stop that. That ain't nice. I'm stupid. Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you. So he was supposed to take the kids for half the time in his car. Got it. So this woman is so concerned with child support. Let me say this too before we go over these facts. Oh, and good, my baby girl is back. Hey, baby girl. Let me see your nose. Let me see your world. But no. Here's the thing with child support and alimony. Laws have no gender. So feminism and equality is if you are the breadwinner, like in the case of Christy and Desmond Scott. Everybody's like, she's a millionaire. She's a millionaire. When she has to pay alimony and buy out Desmond's equity in that house. I don't want to hear none of you anti-feminist, super feminists. I don't want to hear nobody saying nothing. Zip it, shh, zip it, shh. And he's still going to have to pay child support if she maintains primary physical custody. But JustPearlyThings keeps talking about children as if she has given birth to some children. You have not given birth to any children. So let me elucidate for you custody statuses in the family court system. It is primary physical custody with joint custody. It is full physical custody with the other parent having no say-so whatsoever. It's 50-50 custody split where a child will spend time in both parents' homes equally. And those children, unfortunately, are the most messed up ones because they get to spend 4 days at one parent's house, 3 days at another parent's house, 3 days at another parent's house, 4 days at another parent's house. And they get to do this over and over in a cycle, which means those two parents are now stuck living in the same school district. Right. They have to live within a certain radius of themselves. I believe it's 60 miles, 30 to 60 miles of each other. Their jobs are affected by that joint custody option, 50-50. It's a whole bunch that goes into it. So I hear people, right, don't add in holidays. Now they got to fight. Oh, well, this year we go to mom's for Christmas, but next year we go to dad's for Christmas, but we go to dad's for New Year's Eve this year. But like, come on, it's a whole bunch to it. And people be on social media just chatting the chat. Oh, but let's go ahead and look at this little insert. 44% of custodial parents receive the full amount of child support. That means 56% of parents that are due to child support do not receive the full payment. 69.3% of custodial parents who were due child support received some payment from the non-custodial parent, while only 43.5% reported receiving the full amount of child support due. And that is from 2015. The numbers don't vary much. So what are we talking about? We're talking about people on social media pulling antiquated stats, not knowing what they're talking about, just chatting to have a platform, and people that are emotionally traumatized, getting them to agree with their nonsense, trying to get other people to be stuck in their bullshit instead of dealing with the facts and the truth. And why is she assuming that every marriage is going to end in divorce? I believe because her parents' marriage ended in divorce. I believe, if I have this correct, her father cheated on her mother. Or did her mom cheat on her dad? One of the two. Anyway, she comes from a household where there's infidelity. And her father was a high value man. He owned a software company. So, 50-50 is only going to work if both parents are happy and comfortable living in the same school district within a workable proximity to each other. Some parents want to do that, and it works. If it works for them, cool. And if it doesn't work for them, that's also cool. But people that don't have children should simply be quiet.
Hey, Ron, can I say something about that
Yeah.
I heard talked about? I remember when I would have guys come into my office and I would have to interview them about what's going on, right? A lot of them would be eligible for full custody or even 50-50 custody, but they would opt not to have full custody and or sometimes not 50-50 custody, because what comes along with full custody and 50-50 custody is you have to facilitate the child getting to and from school and extracurricular activities in addition to working as well, equal to the other person, if not more. And so a lot of men work more than full time. They work overtime to make ends meet. And that's just if, like, let's say they put their cell phone child support. They're working one job that might have overtime or two jobs, and they just don't have the physical capacity to be taking 2 and 3 and sometimes even one child back and forth to all these different things, and it's just easier for them to just pay child support and work and live their life and have visitation when it's feasible for them to visit with their child, meaning when they're off of work and they don't have other competing priorities. So I what I don't like is for when people say, well, frame it as if women are taking physical custody away from men, when in fact, like Pearly, you have not sat in the majority or even half of most court hearings for the 5 to 10% maybe of people that do go to court to see why is it that a lot of men who work full time and some do not feel the need to be full-time custodians of their children. They prefer to be 50-50 or less because of their financial circumstance and or just the physical care of children just in general, before school, after school care, daycare, back and forth. Like, she doesn't know that life, like you said, because she don't have any children, but she got the battery pack of the manosphere down her backside, and you can see how much that's helping her right now. This is what I'm hearing.
Right. And it's funny because she does not have this energy when she is debating women of color.
Right.
Because the men in the spaces when she debates women of color always are trying to silence the women instead of letting women just simply have the conversations. What Anna is saying to her is not even new talking points or new facts that she has to battle against. She just doesn't have the advantage to be the preference in this situation to silence Anna.
Ain't no black men jumping in to defend her honor. Ain't no white men coming up there to look stupid so she can capitalize off of it. No, she got to fend for herself. And this is why when I say it, she's the way she framed how she lost told me everything. This is why, because she wants to blame somebody else's experience over her lack of just understanding and or just her position, period, is just wrong. Period. Women shouldn't be allowed to vote. Women shouldn't be allowed to work. Women shouldn't be. And then she talks about promiscuousness, right? What caused men to be promiscuous to the point bastard culture was the leading culture in the world up until about 1808. Like not even that far long ago. What caused them to create a world full of mostly bastards? Like what was that?
I don't know, because I don't know if you heard when you had to fall off. What I said was women are promiscuous. Yes, there are a lot of women that are promiscuous, but they're not sleeping with each other. They're sleeping with men. So if we're talking about a woman, especially, like, I expect the nonsense from men to a degree because whatever. But as a woman, why are we not setting the expectation that the men that we engage with not be whores, right? And there's a lot of men that say that they cannot be whores, but I tell you what, I'm raising my son to be a man of virtue and high caliber. He's not going to be putting his penis in every single vagina. And I know you're raising a son as well. So that is ultimately the underlying conversation. If men are not seeking pleasure between women's legs, right, then y'all also harass those men and you tell them that they're not worth anything because they're LGBTQIA or they have gender dysmorphia or they don't know who they want to be. So people have all of these labels for what people should and shouldn't do. And they're not looking at the problem as a total problem. What is the absolute advantage? The absolute advantage would be chastity as a whole global community. And again, right, Pearl thinks that she's the expert because she's interviewed thousands of people. But again, the global population is 8.3 billion. So that's really inconsequential, a negligible amount of people that she's had conversations with. That then bears the question of her psychological standing, her mental acuity. Why are you being so readily influenced by the few that you are speaking to, as opposed to doing independent, objective research to look into what is actually happening?
Right. I mean, she's not going to look into what's actually happening because then it's going to disprove her point. And if she looks and starts talking about what's actually happening, she really won't have a platform and nothing to talk about. Like, truly, she's not like Anna. Anna has a whole career. Okay. She doesn't have a career. She's struggling to keep a social media presence. She has nothing outside of those talking points. If she acknowledged that, listen, you know, men created whore culture. Women didn't create whore culture. And the way whore culture was created was this notion that men whore around with certain types of women. There's a certain populace of women that is okay to whore around with. And then when you get ready to marry, there's going to be another population of goody good two-shoe girls that you're always going to have your pick from. And then you don't realize that if all the men are whoring around with all the women, including some of the goody two-shoes girls, at some point, all the women are just going to be the status of your whore. And then when you make that a norm, that's what's going to happen, like normally. And then you won't have nobody to marry. Like that's a math equation that's been in the works for thousands of years. And now this is the pinnacle of something that's been in the works. But you have to look into history to see how this all relates back. And my thing is to acknowledge that means to say this is just what happens, and we didn't start this, and we're not going to end it. There's no other conversation to debate and go back and forth about. She is trying to take black manosphere conversations and make it an international issue when in fact it is not. The issues that black men are going through is a unique set of issues that does not apply across the board. It doesn't even have the same impact. So it's like, why she's attempting to keep herself relevant through what she thinks is a real problem, but it's only a real problem for a certain demographic. The demographic of black people that are not from, a certain sect don't have these talking points in their brain, in their mouths anywhere. Only a certain subsect. So this is why she can say, I've interviewed thousands of people, which isn't really true, but I've interviewed thousands of people and I think I have a good measure on what's happening. She hasn't really interviewed thousands of people. How many white people have she interviewed? Just out of the thousands. Like, how many white people were they? Less than half, right? We know it's less than half. But
It is.
you want to sit and say that you know something about the global world culture, about being whores? Have you been to India? Have you been to the Middle East? Where like they be fully in niqab whoring out, like seriously, and nobody's forcing them because money is hard to come by out there, and the men just haven't created nothing. Like, have you been to these countries, Pearly? Like, seriously. But I know Anna has.
Right, especially since she's Armenian. But I want to address Gen X Realist One. Gen X Realist One, you said you must have seen a different version of this. Pearl made her look like the confused dummy she is. And I want you to hear from Pearl Davis's own mouth.
I know you're saying I did great. I absolutely, you guys got to stop gassing me up. I did not. The first half, I did great at certain points. Yeah, I know. Don't try to remember everything. Focus on the stuff you know really well. I know that was. Yeah, do you know what? But, even though I lost this debate and I thought about it, I know that I did everything I could.
She did everything she could, and she still knows that she lost the debate. So what version of the debate did you watch?
The one in her head or his head. That's the one.
Oh.
Same one Pearly watched a couple days before.
Okay, because if the person that we are discussing says that they lost, they did all that they could, and for y'all to stop gassing her,
right?
You are the problem.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, even though we're dissecting this debate and giving our commentary, I have to have a measure of respect for Pearl for not being so delusional that she thinks she gave a good performance and that she thinks that she won.
E for effort. I give her E for that.
Now, you're welcome to stay in the chat, but mind your manners, please. The next disrespectful comment that you leave in my chat or on my platform will get you perma-banned. Let's continue.
Out in 10%
it doesn't
of
matter
divorces.
if you're part of the
it does
10%.
matter. It does matter because you make it seem like it's a widespread issue when it's only 10%.
Doctrine is a sexist law against men. That's sexist.
How is it sexist if a woman decided to forego a career, decided to be a stay-at-home mother, and the marriage doesn't work out? She has no job. She has no income. So you think it's unfair to get support from her ex-husband so she can raise the kids?
60%,
so she can pay.
60% of kids under 5 have daycare. Daycare is an option now. You wanted to be men.
Do you know how much daycare costs?
You wanted to be men. Here you
Do you know how much daycare costs? Do you think it's free?
Let her answer. Let her answer.
A lot of things are expensive, Anna. I mean, men.
That's not an answer.
Women have 85% of consumer spending. Women spend money all the time. You spend money on hair dye. You spend money on Botox. You spend money.
You should think about it.
On the.
Ooh.
Anna.
Yeah, Anna, chill. Chill, Anna. Stick to the points, Anna.
Jesus Christ. I mean, shit.
But here's the problem that Pearl isn't thinking about. That Pearl hasn't done her research in the history let's say, white men's approval for this system. This has nothing to do with feminism. This system was created by white men to keep the system running and running smoothly. The idea of a woman having a marriage and then being without a man, be it because he's dead or because he lost his job or because he left her and fathered another family, which was big. At the end of the day, women with children with no income equals a nation in poverty. You cannot have a nation in poverty to that degree simply because of human nature. You have to have a bottom line, because you can't fight wars, you can't lead in technology, you can't lead in anything when most, and I mean most, of your people are living like it's the Great Depression. This is why social programs started for women and children, because this right here is the bottom, and your bottom can't be but so low if you want to stay on top of the world. This goes to national security. So the idea that she's even on this stage without referencing the history behind each and every point that she's making, man, we should do a debate, because this is some bullshit right here.
Yeah, but we do have a whole bunch of things that we agree on. But I just want to share with y'all.
I'm just saying, I need to watch her points and then debate her points for her so that she can understand how to debate. I don't care if it's still a losing point. I'll debate the points for her. If she's saying that these laws are sexist, you have to bring out the part of the law. You have to quote the law and then quote where the law is specifically illegal because it is a sexist law. You can't just say it's a sexist law, and then when she says, well, what about the men that actually benefit from it, like what about them? What about the men that receive spousal support and child support from the same law? Like, what about them? They're not supposed to receive it, or they're supposed to be men of valor and not receive money and support because they can support themselves? Like, what are we doing? Like,
that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Like, in her mind, men do not receive child support. They don't receive spousal support. It's just women, because it makes her uncomfortable to think of it any other way.
What about SSI and SSDI? There's a lot more men on those social programs that do not work and cannot pay child support but have children, and social services has to pay for those children because they can't take that money from them because that's state money. So it's like, what do we again? She ain't done near lick of research. I want to call her Corey Holcomb 2.0.
Damn, not Corey Holcomb 2.0. But yeah, that's true. It is it's an entitlement. If a man is on SSI or SSD, the child support he pays comes from the government. It doesn't come out of his pocket. Never has, never will. Child. Ooh.
She don't know what she's talking about. She thinks she's debating feminism. Feminism isn't on the stage right now to be debated. Like, that's not it. And Anna is doing a really good job at keeping her to the basics, which is every point that you're making applies to men as well. So what you're not going to do is act like we're a country that is only about making sure women are on top. That's not what this is about. Even with the whole women having more custody issue, women don't have more physical custody because they're women. They have more physical custody because judges do not feel the need to take infants from their mother and place them with their father. Judges do not feel that children under 5 do well where their mother is not at in a full-time to half-time capacity. Judges give children full-time to mothers often when the mothers have the time to care for the children, unlike fathers who are working in this economy around the freaking clock.
Exactly. But hold on a second, because I think it's important that we talk about this, because when we're talking about the law, it's good to give a stunning example. So this is from Texas Constitution and Statutes, section 154.001, support of the child. The court may order either or both parents to support a child in the manner specified by the order until the child is 18 years old, until the child is emancipated, blah, 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 blah. The court may order each person who is financially able and whose parental rights have been terminated with respect to a child in substitute care for whom the department has been appointed managing conservator, a child for a reason described in a certain section, or a child who was conceived as a direct result of conduct that constitutes an offense to support the child in the manner specified by the order. The court order may order either or both parents to make periodic payments for child support. And it is a part on here that says it doesn't matter about the gender. I found it, but let me pull it back up again.
What it's pointing to when it says either is 20% of all child support is paid to grandparents and non-biological entities that have custody of children. 20%. So that's why they're also including both parties, as if not to say men will pay women or women will pay men, because there is a lot of people, let's say foster parents and grandparents, that receive child support from both mom and dad.
True. But it is definitely not just based on the sex. Like they're telling you in this whole law.
You're right. You can see the language. It's not sexist based.
So where is she coming from?
The manosphere.
The
left side of bumfuck. Her asshole.
I'm just saying, I'm trying to look where it says that this is just for the men. It says the obligor. So regardless of the sex of the obligor, yeah, you're gonna have to pay that. Yeah. Child, let's go back to this debate because we're gonna be here all day playing.
Trying to find what this girl looking for. Yeah.
And this is somebody that has knowledge. That is right. I ain't gonna put a business out there, but child, listen. All right, let's listen to this foolishness.
I sure am.
You spend money all of the time.
Yep.
So you wanted to be men. Here it is. You're equal. Pay for daycare.
Equality means that when you have a child or children, you're both responsible. So the idea that the woman should take 100% of the costs on herself without any help from her husband or ex-husband is ridiculous. How is that fair?
Well, how is it fair that he doesn't get 50-50 custody?
Well,
Again, a lot of these dudes been gaming you, Pearl. You game goofy. You are game goofy. These men don't want their children. To piggyback off of Lola's earlier point, I want you, Pearl, because you like to do street interviews. I want you to go out in the street and walk up to women with children, right, that are by themselves without a man in the picture, and ask women about the visitation schedules and how many of their children's fathers actually stay in accordance to what the visitation schedule is supposed to be. Most parents with joint custody, the non-custodial parent flakes out on the kids. Would you agree with that, Lola?
I definitely agree with that, and I want to bring something up here just on that point, because I love it when people say things right, and I like when people share the truth from their real lives, because I always get into this issue with let me see, icon for your bar. Why isn't it letting me do it? Let me see. I just want people to hear what I'm let me see, allow. Okay, can you share that, Roy? Okay, let me play this for y'all real quick.
Lots of things you buy when Marcus isn't here. That's true. You are substituting shopping for parenting, Marcus. Tell me why you're doing this.
Because we don't have enough money to put.
You people make $140,000 a year. So when will you have enough money to keep your children at home?
This couple makes over $100,000 a year, live in a tiny apartment, spend more money than they make, are in crippling debt, and to put the cherry on top, they say they can't afford childcare, so their son spends 4 to 5 days and nights with the grandparents.
Now, that's just one couple, right? Well, you can take it down. I've seen whole documentaries. I've seen whole documentaries on couples that are married, that are making over 100K, that cannot afford daycare. They both have jobs, and one of them got to stop working because daycare is not affordable. And if that one job that one of them has can't do it, and they both got to do it, it is more than a struggle. So for her to say, well, daycare is expensive, you got to do it on your own, two people can't do it. So who cares about the fact that daycare is expensive? It has nothing to do with anything. The state always is going to have to supplement. It doesn't matter if it's the male that got the children or the female. If you're a male and you got 3 children, 2 of them are in daycare and 1 is in before care and after care, and you get full custody, and let's say you make $90,000, you're going to need state assistance for daycare. You will. I mean, I need it, and I make well over that. And if I had a child, I'm done. Okay, like seriously, that people don't understand how much it actually takes to live out here. So for her to have this flagrant attitude of, well, you know, if you want to be a man, and being a man means being divorced from a man, like that dumbass shit. Like, come on now, I can show you in the most ancient of texts, divorce has been on the books since the beginning of time. But somehow she thinks being divorced means women want to be men. Really? This is what I'm saying. Like, she don't have the privilege of being a white chick in a black space anymore. And it just sounds dumber.
Exactly. But let's go into the annual price of childcare. And this is from childcareaware.org, right? 2004 childcare affordability. The CCAOA found that the national average price of childcare for 2024 was $13,128. Now, Lola, pull up the average income, please, for 2024 as I read through this. Thank you.
All right.
It would take 10% of a married couple with children's median income to afford this national average price. It would take 35% of a single parent with children's median household income to afford this national average price. This is more than the current rule from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services that child care should not cost families receiving federal child care subsidies more than 7% of their annual income. Notably, each state's child care landscape is unique, and the national average price does not fully capture state and local nuances. Household budgets. According to the CCAOA's analysis, in 45 states plus the District of Columbia, the average annual price of childcare for 2 children in a center exceeded annual mortgage payments from 0.05% to 78%. In 49 states plus the District of Columbia, the price of center-based care for 2 children exceeded the median annual rent payments by 19% to over 100%. In 41 states plus the District of Columbia, the average annual price of childcare for an infant in a center exceeded annual in-state university tuition by 0.8 to over 100%. And childcare professionals in a center earn on average $33,140 per year, depending on the state. It would take from 44% to over 100% of the average annual childcare professional's wage to afford center-based care for 2 children. What exactly are we talking about here? Did you pull? Oh, look at that. Always on the ready. Let me remove this and let me add this.
They variant income because they have the national income that is in terms of families here for 2023 and the 2024. But that's roughly here. When we used to say like most of America, which is in this top portion, is making 50K and under. And then you have a certain portion that makes over that. But then the national income, I think it was like, I think around 60 something thousand. That's nationally. But then when you come over here from USA Today, they did a story in 2024 The blueprint by Punjabi, I forgot. The national income is around 48,000. That's like the average of 50% and under. But that's been the case for a while now. Like 40 around there 50,000. That's been the case for a minute now, ever since 2021, if I'm not mistaken. That's been like that, and I'm sure it didn't change, but I mean, we can break that down over here in terms of income. So if you're a minority, you're making less of an income unless you're Asian, okay, in America. Now, this is not like worldwide. This is just in America. So, I mean, if you see this right here, I mean, it's staggering. Okay, according to the Bureau of Labor, the average U.S. annual salary for quarter 4 of 2023 was $59,384. This is up 5% from 2022, where it was 56. It says while the average American made $4,900 per month in quarter 4, salaries are up, and the growth is down. The increase in average earnings is lower compared to the 7.3 rise between 2021 and 2022. So this is the average salary, roughly between, let's say, 50 and 60,000, somewhere around there. This gets into race right here, and like breaks it down, like, yeah, into by race. But that's pretty much what we're looking at. We're not looking at too much anything over that. Yeah, in terms of teenagers here, yeah.
Child, listen, let's get back to this debate. But essentially, Pearly, shut up, stupid. Essentially, but child, let's continue. And we only 18 minutes in, y'all. This is juicy.
How long did it go on?
Huh?
How long did that go on?
This debate was 1 hour and 15 minutes.
Hey,
Yeah, so we're gonna let part 1 finish, and then we'll give some commentary before we start part 2, or we will be here forever and a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why are you asserting that they don't?
It's 50% his DNA. Why can't he have 50% custody? Where
there
has
was a
feminists
study.
been?
Let me answer your question, even though I should be interrogating you. I'll answer your question. Massive study out of Massachusetts that looked at 24,000 divorces. In those 25 divorces, they found that in only 8% of cases did men ask for custody. 8%.
Right, because the average American can't afford divorce fees, Anna.
But women
it
can
costs
afford to raise the
$25,000
children by themselves without support from the ex-husband.
It costs $1,500 to get a divorce when you don't have a multitude of assets. Pearly, have you ever been married?
Facts. And most people don't have a bunch of assets. Most people, like, seriously.
Most people have a bunch of debt, and y'all get income taxes every year. People go to Cabo St. Lucas, and they be tricking and buying cars and rims and clothes. And don't just say that's the Black community, because unfortunately for a lot of y'all, I have a lot of friends in other communities. Everybody spend their tax money on whatever they want to, PlayStation 5s, checking that. Like, child, shut up. Ooh. And this is interesting because Anna is supposed to be interrogating Pearly, and Pearly doesn't know how to just answer questions. She just knows how to attack. I'm very curious to see how it's going to turn when it's Anna's turn to be interrogated. But let's continue.
How does that make sense?
What did you say? I didn't hear you. We were both talking.
You're complaining about the costs while simultaneously arguing that a woman should not get child support in order to raise the children that the former couple had together.
Are you guys equal or not? You want to
Yes, equality means that you're both responsible for raising the children, and that includes the costs of raising the children. So you should have equality, but not at the expense of men. 50-50 custody, 50-50, no child support, no alimony.
No,
that's equality. You don't.
Alimony makes sense if the woman was a stay-at-home mother and doesn't have a source of income. How else would she take care of the kids following a divorce?
By getting a job, just like the men.
Did you just hear that? Anna just literally said that 50% of that child's care is by the mom and the dad. And if both of them are working, then it doesn't matter. I don't know what's that going on, but it doesn't matter. So why would she sit there? You seen how she hesitated, right? Because she says, well, you have to get a job. Most women who receive child support are working. They're not stay-at-home moms. And so for the fact, again, she don't even do her own like survey. How many people in this chat, right? If you've received child support, was at home not working, and you just received child support, and you just was taking care of your kids, and like your marriage was that thorough that you got a divorce and you ain't have to do nothing for the rest of your life to support yourself or your children. I need to know how many people has had that lifestyle at this point. I need to know. I need a number.
It's a minuscule amount. It's a negligible amount. It's 10% or less of marriages in general. Like, Pearl doesn't know what she's talking about. And I have been preaching this doctrine, and I'm going to keep on preaching it. Women, when your marriage gets to a point of a divorce, Christy, listen up. Give 100% custody to the fathers of your children.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say this to all women that go through dramatics with their children's father when it comes to them paying child support. Give the children to the fathers. I can almost guarantee it with a 90% accuracy. They will turn right around, give it a couple of months, and give them kids right back to you. These men be talking about they want to take care of these kids until they have the burden of taking care of children without the mother there. Sorry, not sorry. I don't think a lot of people live in reality, right? Even in households where both parents live together, they are very much happily married. The children have the tendency to rely heavily on the mother. And there's literally nothing wrong with that, right? They were in the mom's stomach while she was pregnant. If the mom is a certain type of mother, they're on her breast until they're about 2 years old. If a woman can produce that much milk, even if they're not on the breast, she's still the person. She's the food source. She's doing most of the feeding of them, most of the changing of them, most of the bathing of them, because most men they look at children as very fragile. And until the children can actually ambulate on their own and show a little tenacity and a little toughness, most men are skittish. I'm not going to say all men are skittish, but most men are skittish of interacting with children a certain type of way. So this is insane. And look at this. Pearl is right and Hannah is wrong. Well, I suggest you go watch her video where she says she took it out. She said for y'all to stop gassing her. Okay, she did her very best and she didn't win. But let's continue.
So you're saying that a woman who doesn't have recent job history is just going to willy-nilly enter the job force or workforce, I should say, and easily get hired. Do you guys care about this? So do you care about the children or not? Because you're making this about like the poor husband, the poor ex-husband who doesn't want to pay the child support, doesn't want, to take on any of the responsibilities of having children in the first place. Why is it that you seem to have a problem with men carrying out their responsibilities? But when it comes to
men are dying to care about their responsibilities. Men are fighting to be a part of their kids' lives.
What's the empirical data on that?
I don't need data. How many people in here have had a family or a friend fight for their kid and not be able to?
Now, she just said to Anna, what are you, a woman that's emotional? Pearl, newsflash, you are a woman. And the argument that you just provided was emotional.
No data, no information, no empirical evidence with you, none of that. You don't even need it. Ain't that what men say? The problem is women, you don't need facts, you just talking out your ass. Like, ain't that the biggest problem that they say? It doesn't matter if you're trying to defend men. You're defending men using the same tactic that they inherently hate.
Right. And that is a platform that you stand on. So you should have, if no other point, you should have the empirical data on what percentage of men are fighting for their children.
And can't get them.
Right.
To get it. The reason that this happens, Anna, is because lawyers tell them not to fight because it's so expensive and they won't win.
What is
They
that
won't
based on?
win.
You have to provide, look, Pearl, I am open to be convinced, but I need more than anecdotes. I need more than vibes and feelings, because we're talking about something serious here. We're talking about raising children. We're talking about the shared responsibility of raising children. That, of course, includes
90%
the cost.
of disputed custody goes to women. That's not easy.
See, and I'm trying to let her live, but no.
You can't let her live because she's talking shit that is not reality. Like, seriously, I got people, family members right now that have been through divorce, and the man is like, yo, I want to be on to the next female. I don't want to be saddled down with all those kids. Like that. Like, come on now. How many times have your grandparents told you don't get pregnant because you're gonna be the one saddled with the kid while he off living his life? Them men ain't fighting to be out here saddled with kids. Maybe the good married men, and I mean that's less than 10% of married men, because all men ain't good just because they married. Less than 10% of men are good and they want their kids full time or at least half the time. Now, if they don't get the children half the time, what about all the cases where the men want the child full time, but that's not fair to the mom? What about that? What about he wants the child half the time, but he can't facilitate half the time because he expects the mom to do it like for real more than half the time, but he just wants half custody? That happens more than a little bit. You will get 50-50 custody, but then the mom is picking the child up more often than you because your work goes over, or you don't have a car, or you don't have transportation money, or what have you. That happens way too much, even with 50-50 custody. Like, I speak from experience, okay? So let's not act like 50-50 custody is the best thing ever, because if you tell men you got 50-50 custody, do whatever you need to do, that means that now their jobs are affected, their finances are affected, and they don't qualify for social services. So what do we have here? A bunch of impoverished men in a nation where we're trying to get to a point where our men are not just as impoverished as low income, low education women. What are we doing here?
Right. But let's look at this for a minute, because she's telling lies. And this is from Dad's Divorce, and you can look up the legalities behind it anytime you get getting ready to. Okay? Myth: fathers almost never get custody. It depends on the applicable definition of never, but generally, this is untrue. The most recent available census statistics show that fathers represent around 1 in 5 custodial parents, an improvement over the 16% of custodial parents reported in 1994. However, studies indicate that dads simply do not ask for custody as often as mothers do, as courts generally do not award what is not asked for in that regard. A Massachusetts study examined 2,100 fathers who asked for custody and pushed aggressively to win. Of those 2,100, 92% either received full or joint custody, with mothers receiving full custody only 7% of the time. Another study where 8% of fathers asked for custody shows that of that 8%, 79% received either sole or joint custody. In other words, approximately 6.3% of the 8% that asked. Of course, this leads to the obvious question: why do so few men attempt to gain custody? While there are multiple factors at play, one to note is that since many men still believe that the court system is inherently prejudiced in favor of the mother, they do not try to seek sole or joint custody, believing it to be a waste of time and money. This contributes to any lingering biases or claims that men care less about their children, which is in fact mostly untrue. And to the child support claim, before we even get there, the formulas used in some states may be unfair to the non-custodial parent in general, right? In some states, child support payments are calculated based on the non-custodial parent's income and the number of children being supported. This formula purports to be objective, but has come under fire from parents and legal professionals alike, right? But it's still untrue. It is just unfair to the non-custodial parent. And if you're out here having kids, make sure that you are having children that you can afford to fight for. Just like if you're out here committing crimes. Don't commit a crime if you can't afford an attorney.
Well, look at it this way. For instance, in the state of Maryland, for Department of Child Support. Now, if you're in the courts, if you was married, that's different. The judge can say what they want to say. But if you go through the court, through Department of Child Support, and it's going to be 27% of your income is what you will pay in child support, no matter what your income is, 27%. If you have, let's say, 11 children, right, and you make $60,000 a year, 27% of your income, right? For each one, at some point, we're talking about over 100% of your income, like respectively, right? So what now that calculation does is starts, like Ross said in the beginning, starts taking away the child support from all of the children based on age. So the children, the older children get less, the newer children get more because of other things like, you know, Pampers, milk, daycare, stuff like that. Mm. So not everybody is getting like child support in terms of, if I got a child with a man, 27% of his income comes to me for child support because I have primary care of the child. No, I could be getting $12 because he has 4 other children. And the mother's income is also calculated too. And if she makes less than me, more money going to her than me.
But you said that backwards. Hey, Drip, the oldest children get the most money. The newest children get the least.
I thought it was based on the
based on the thing, because
because they've vested in, so they come afterwards. I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's true. Sorry, the other way around. Because they have been paying into that child since they were a baby, and if you add on, they can't take away like your percentage. They just kind of add that on to the back. But again, if it exceeds 100% of your income, they can't take 100% of your income. So what do? They start chopping that joint down.
Exactly.
And so 3 kids could really be like, you ain't getting no. The average person ain't making 100,000. So the average person ain't making much on no child support. I'm sorry, you ain't getting much. $400 a month. Like, I spend that just on my child's martial arts every month. Just on martial arts. That does not include the $30 he just ordered for lunch right here. Okay, that, and he do that almost every day. That don't include allowance, that don't include clothes, that don't include nothing. Come on,
please. And that's, you know, it's crazy, but let's continue.
90%, that's a totally made up statistic. Where are you citing that from?
All right, let's take a break there because our time actually ran out.
No, see, that's
those opening interrogations are over. Let's take
a quick break because now Pearl gets to interrogate Anna, and I think we're going to see a different side to this debate. We're going to see somebody that, you know, so far it looks like she knows what she's talking about. I mean, she's a little messy.
It is messy. I hope so, because she was interrogating her, and I'm like, yo, is it your turn yet? Okay.
Child, let's continue.
Moment here. You guys want to grab a sip of water? All right.
She looked at them papers.
The next.
Not at all. And Pearl looks under pressure, honey. Pearl looks unhinged. Miss Anna's just sitting there like, girl, I'm about to mollywop that ass. Oh, child, let's continue.
Step is going to be 30 minutes. We're going to open it up. Again, open debate. I'd remind you guys, I know everyone's passionate about this. I get that. But you can't have multiple people debating at the same time, right? We got one debater here. We got one debater here. Let's keep it here. All right? Let's put 30 minutes on the clock and let's begin the open debate.
Right. Okay. So clearly Pearlie needed all of that help, right? And so far the poll is 88% in one chat for Anna and 70% in the other chat for Anna. Now, I'm going to put another poll up. Do you think Anna needs the chat's support?
Hell no.
Hmm.
Hell no. I think somebody needs to support, you know what I mean? My girl over there, Pearly. Need to support her.
Mm.
Funny she called herself Pearly because, like, as if to say she's pearly white, and she ain't even talking about her skin color. She talking about that other thing, that virtue thing, and I'm like, girl, bye.
Well, she is virtuous now.
No, she ain't. Not based on what I know about her. No, she ain't.
Listen, she virtuous just because she don't got no kids.
Well, she was trying to make some kids with a broke nigga. Okay.
She was, but I've been telling people this all their life. If you don't have no kids, there ain't no proof.
She said ain't no proof. No, it's some proof. How old is she?
Come on out. Look at her. Let me stop. Let's continue.
Here, I'll let you pick up here.
Nice, but,
Go ahead.
What happens to men when they don't pay child support?
There are consequences for it, especially when there's a court order for them to carry out their responsibility and pay child support so that child can be raised.
And what happens?
Do you think there shouldn't be legal responsibilities or legal consequences if they fail to carry out a court order to, you know, take care of their kids?
I've interviewed
Anna fucking up right now because what Anna should have done, because that's an obvious question she should have anticipated. The fact of the matter is, the circumstances depends on what happens to you. So if you're court ordered or ordered by child support to pay child support and you do not make payment, they're going to reach out to you first to find out why. If you lost your job, they don't force you to pay if you don't have income. Especially with Department of Child Support, they put you in a program where they tell you to apply for jobs, and as long as you report, it's just money on the back end. They don't take your license, they don't lock you up, and none of that. But if you avoid paying them, don't answer their letters, don't go to the appointments, and that reaches a judge, they're gonna put a warrant out for your arrest because you didn't come to court, not because you owe child support. It don't matter if it was a criminal case. If you get summoned to a court hearing and you say, fuck that shit, it's shit gonna happen to you, not because any children is involved. So this is what Anna needed to make clear, because for her to say, well, men are supposed to just take care of their children, sure, theoretically, but what Pearl is trying to get at is they're being unfairly treated. And no, they're not. I know female, matter of fact, let me tell you a story. I think I told you this before, Rob. A man who had 3 children by a woman called me and said, it's been 2 weeks, I ain't got my child support, right, from her. And I call her and I said, hey, Miss So-and-so, you know, how you doing? This is Miss Lola. I'm calling, you know, to understand, you know, what's going on. Do you need any help? You know, how can we help? And she was like, well, I lost my job. And so I'm about to get another one. You don't need to call me. I said, well, the reason I'm calling is because payment was missed and we didn't have an advance notice so that we could make any arrangements. And so she started cussing me out. And so I had to tell her, like, wait a minute, I'm just calling to help, because if you need help, we have programs for you here so that you can stay in good standing, even though you're not paying. She threatened to beat me up, come to my job and beat me up, and then still didn't pay her baby father. I sent her 3 letters and she ignored that shit. That 4th letter went out to that judge, and I called her baby father back and I said, listen, you ain't about to get no child support for a really long time, because when they pick her fuck ass up, okay, she ain't gonna be able to get the job for a long time. Okay, so don't look for no child support, because she done threatened my life now, nigga. So he was like, you know what? It's okay. It's okay. I did my due diligence, and he didn't get no child support, but she didn't sit out here freeloading off the system either. Okay, so yeah, no, I made that letter make work for her. Like, no, what you're not gonna do is threaten me and say F the state. That ain't gonna happen. The same thing that happened to these men that don't answer them letters is the same thing gonna happen to you. And I talk to you, so no, you going down. Okay, I'll make sure this gets to the judge. So this is why this is why Anna right now, I'm not saying she's being dishonest, but she's not doing the question any justice to not base it in reality in terms of how the states actually run.
Right. Her response should have been, do you mean what happens to the non-custodial parent? That's all that needed to really be said. What happens to the non-custodial parent is often actually adjudicated by the desires of the custodial parent.
A better question is, what happens to people like me who don't have the money to pay for a payment or two for the car insurance? What happens to me? MVA get to write my ass telling me if you don't get that shit up here, we're gonna charge you, and if you don't charge you, we delete the shit by the minute. Like, don't ask what happens to non-custodial parents. What happens to me when this shit don't go down at MVA?
So they should be able to repossess the children. Girl, let's continue.
They repossess the kids.
Repossess the kids.
I don't know. We ain't gonna put them
millions of dialed.
Repossess them. Take them to the non-custodial parent. Oh, you can't pay. You know what? You know what? We have just come up with the solution, ladies and gentlemen. If you are a non-custodial parent, especially a male, petition the court. I cannot make the payment. I'm gonna have to repossess the children. And then you can have custody, and then she'll have to pay you.
Yep. That's all you gotta do. That's all you gotta do.
And you know, this has always been a pet peeve of mine, and I really don't right. Stuff them back in the cooler. Do that. You have a lot of high value men on social media. A lot of high value men with legal degrees. Pearl has a lot of money on social media. Pearl Davis.
Nothing. Not Pearl Davis.
I need you to go ahead and hire an attorney and put your money where your mouth is. If you are this passionate about fathers' rights, I'm going to give you the blueprint because I'm sure you're going to watch. I want you to start a class action lawsuit against the United States of America that these laws have gender bias and these fathers are suffering harsh economic disparities and that they should not have to take care of their children. This is going to be your legacy, Pearl Davis. Hannah Banana. Child, let's continue.
Dollars in
Don't care about your
child support
interviews.
married.
Anecdotal evidence doesn't matter. What I need is actual statistic, empirical evidence. They should pay their child support.
She should stop responding to the audience. Okay, now look, I'm trying to like Anna. I'm really trying to like Anna. She seems like, for the most part, she has her head on straight and she has her stuff together. Right. But Ana Kasparian, okay, you are already winning this debate. You already had the upper hand. You're playing into the audience members that are there in support of her. Prison. Most non-custodial parents don't actually go to jail for not paying their arrears.
Thanks.
What they do get, however, is a ding on their credit report. What they do get, however, is passports, restrictions, and limitations. What they do get, however, is garnishments that are applied to their wages.
Right.
And again, in a debate like this, in a debate to this magnitude, you know, you got pictures on the screen, timers, sparkles, and glitter and shit. Like, what is the emotion of interacting with the audience at all? And to the, what is this, World War debates, maybe for specific debates like this, if the audience cannot sign a disclaimer as they come in to be, you know, silent during the debate, maybe these be closed studio debates.
Yeah.
Because I'm really curious to see how this debate would have gone between the two of them without an open studio audience.
Right. I want to know too.
Let's continue.
$441
What happens?
is the average child support payment. $441 a month.
Yeah, that's for someone that makes $24,000 a year.
You just told me a woman can just go to work and take care of the kids totally by herself.
How does a guy live when he's paying $500
That's
a
not
month
the
and
state's
$24,000 a
problem.
year?
So now you're supposed to care. And this is how you know this is a male identified women. Now, when y'all are running around here talk about some who's male identified and who's not. If a man cannot survive on $24,000 less $6,000, right? Which brings it to $18,000. You see how I did that math off the top of my head? If he cannot survive earning $18,000 a year and take care of himself, what makes this woman believe that a woman with 2 additional human beings to take care of can exist off of that amount of money? But that digs into a deeper topic that these spaces also often neglect. A man making $18,000 a year qualifies for governmental subsidies.
That part.
He qualifies for temporary assistance for needy families. He qualifies for food stamps. He qualifies for housing, or at least to be on the list.
He does.
Just like mothers do. So this is another myth of this gender war that they want you to buy into.
Never mind the fact that you slinging dick making 18 grand a year. Meanwhile, this same bird brain type of female is talking about, if as a woman, if you can't afford what you trying to do, you need to keep your legs closed. Her talking about something, you want to be a man and shit like that. And it's like, now it's like, come on now. Like, if you can't physically afford children, I don't care if you a couple by yourself, if you can't afford the children, why have them? According to her, why have them? Like she said, if you're a female and you want to be a male by yourself, so most females, according to the statistics, are impoverished. That they are of the bottom, percentile. They're not middle class. So it's like, truly, they're not middle class. What are we supposed to do? She's talking about birth rates. That plays in the birth rates. People can afford children or not afford children. If these men can't afford children, right, how are they affording to be married? Oh, the statistic of men that get with women so that they can afford life, and then when they have children, things don't work out, separated, they can't really afford life. That is nobody's fault. But at the end of the day, if you want to sit and say women need to make sacrifices to stay in, not even marriage, 70% of people have children or have never been married. We talking about the 30% of people that get married should stay there. No, that ain't how that go.
Regardless to if they should or if they shouldn't, right? Because everybody is a Monday morning armchair quarterback, right? What we do know is these are the numbers and these are this is the reality. If you feel the way you say you feel in regards to who can afford what,
right,
then you should have those same premises for the women. And
right.
even if we, give a best case scenario where there's 50-50 and no child support, what is the quality of life of 2 adults making $24,000 or less? What exact quality and standard of life is that? Because you can't even qualify for a studio apartment with $24,000 a year. We are also not factoring the financial situation that goes on in America and inflation, because most apartments, almost all of them, require you make 3 times the rent in order for them to rent to you. And studios nowadays are going for $1,200 minimum, which means you need to make $3,600 a month, which means you need to be making around $37,000 a year to be able to afford housing.
She ain't doing the math. And it's like, if you can't afford yourself, why would somebody give you primary custody of children? That way.
This is crazy, but let's continue. What up, Jedi? And before we continue, but this is a person that's telling someone that the premise for their debate is that they live in an ivory tower. And from the position of her debating, because she's just stuck on that one point, like, if you are anti-feminist, and I mean, maybe it goes somewhere else as the debate continues on, but an anti-feminist should have more points of contention than alimony and child support. It sounds like this woman, Hannah Banana, has dated a whole bunch of men that have been financially strapped because of the child support system. Now, what that means is you're not a good picker of men, right? What that means is you're a wealthy woman. You should be dating in your income bracket.
She should, or above it,
because you believe that trad wife life. So your father, and I've seen Just Pearly Things family home. You have an estate, a mansion, property. What are you doing rolling around with hood boogers?
Right, that part.
You live in a mansion on an estate on acres of property, as you tell people that they're speaking from their ivory towers. How wonderfully elitist are you to have no real world problems, no real world situations? Even when your parents separated, your family actually are one of those families that qualify for that spousal support and that alimony.
Basically.
So you was daddy's girl. You was listening to dad complain about this while he was hiding assets, right? So that's the lens that you view the world, from an ivory tower. Let's continue.
You think $500 a month is too much in child support? Do you know how much it costs to raise a child? Do you know how much childcare costs, for instance? I mean, that mother has to go to work, right? Where's the kid going to stay while that mother is working? How is she going to pay for the
what happens to men when they don't pay child support?
Sorry, say that again.
What happens to men when they don't pay child support?
There are legal repercussions for not carrying out a court mandate to do something.
Do you think that fraud should be illegal?
Absolutely.
Okay. So why is it not illegal for women to fraud men on paternity? If a man does not find out he's the father over the age of 2, he is on the hook for child support for 18 years.
I don't know what the
law is. See, pause. Anna, she fucking up again. Anna, that ponytail a little tight. Okay, because you should know that, first of all, committing fraud on legal documentation incurs jail time. Okay, you can go to court, you can be fined. A lot of stuff can happen to you, not because of the child, but because you committed fraud on federal or state documents. Okay, the reason why women can get away with saying it's his kid when they're born is because the man voluntarily signs the birth certificate, which is an affidavit to say it's not to say you're the biological child. That's not what a birth certificate says. It just says you're signing up to say you're the child's father and custodial parent, let's say in a loose sense, because there's no court saying that when the child is born. That's all that is. So this is why, for instance, like when you get married, right? If your wife has a child by somebody else and says it's yours and you find out, the courts are not concerned with that because you signed that it was going to be taking care of her, not under the circumstances of if your children were all yours. That's not what the marriage license and or the birth certificates say or are for. So this is why they can get away with that. But here's the real wrench. You do know that you don't have to sign a birth certificate. You can do your own DNA test. You can go to child support and have them do the DNA test first. That's what we do out here in the great state of Maryland. You don't get no child support case unless there's a DNA test. You can apply, but you can't receive support now without a DNA test. So this idea that, well, you know, men are being frauded. It's like there's very few cases where that's the case. It's not about frauding the men. It's about the fraudulent federal and state documents. And if a woman lies on any document, like let's suppose she lies about Where she live at? You see what I'm saying? A judge will take that into consideration and say, okay, well, since you lied, what I'm not going to do is hear your case. A judge can throw a case out on the strength of something as minor as you purposely lied about your whereabouts. Like it really gets that serious. Okay. So let's not, she never met anybody truly that was a right type of guy that was in the system. The guy she met was the dudes that's working at McDonald's that had 2 and 3 kids living up in the house with her, or up in wherever they was living at with her, and giving her this sad story about how it's all the girl fault. She just want child support. I'm paying too much. Meanwhile, daycare $800, he paying $300 a month child support. She gotta take care of everything else: food, clothing, daycare, the other half of the daycare, transportation, medical bills, and don't let anything go wrong with the kids. Okay, then she got to pay for everything else that comes with the child. We all know who are parents that taking care of a child goes beyond the basics. So why would Pearl mention that? But Anna should have sense enough to know that what you're not going to do is let that girl walk you down on that shit and say, well, something's supposed to happen. You know, you're married, you know. But okay.
It's wrong. If you're lying about paternity, that is wrong, and there should be legal consequences
why
for
haven't
that.
feminists fought?
It's that simple.
Then why aren't feminists fighting for it, Anna?
Because feminists fight for women, obviously.
Right. That's my point.
Yeah.
At the expense of men. That's my point. You guys want to believe women at the expense of men. Why isn't Amber Heard in jail? Because of the Me Too movement. You guys push believing all rape victims, and now we have rape.
Amber Heard had to pay out a massive settlement.
Yeah, but why isn't she in jail?
You want her in jail?
Yes.
Well,
she ruined his life.
Nah, on some true shit. Now, Pearl, I don't like you a lot of times, but I wholeheartedly agree with you about that shit. Amber Heard should definitely went directly to jail. Do not pass go. She should be locked up until at least 2045. At least.
What was the situation with that?
So Amber Heard lied on Johnny Depp, right? She cost Johnny Depp a ton of money. He lost branding with Disney and a lot of things. She is the reason why we do not have the next Pirates of the Caribbean movie, because she said that Johnny Depp basically physically assaulted her, was abusive to her, and all this and all that. And during the case, we find out that like she was taking full-blown craps in his bed, like she was throwing things at him, like she was doing a lot of stuff to him. And she was very financially abusive to him. He had to spend a lot of money in legal fees. She did an op-ed in, newspapers, really speaking very poorly on him. And she defrauded the government. There was like a whole thing with newspapers. Like it was a lot. Girl, I'll watch the documentary.
But Pearl isn't being honest. There's a reason why she didn't get locked up. Versus if I would have did that, they would have been locked me up for half of it. Pearl not really being honest about that. That there's people who have committed those same crimes that are in jail. And honestly, the American legal system is not a black or white thing. There's certain things you can lie about and get immunity. There's certain things you will lie about and go directly to jail. There's certain things that's called obstruction and you will serve time. And then there's certain things that, hey, people just feel like you're just a liar and they just won't believe you, like, and nothing happens. That is a thing with the justice system, but that's something you take up with the justice system, not feminists. But hold on, let me address something in the chat. Locksmith Germany, you said that Maryland didn't require you to take a DNA test for your kids. I was a case management enforcer. I'm telling you right now, the only time a DNA test is not required at Department of Child Support is when you come from the courts and you were married. That's the only time that is not required. Other than that, there is no you apply and then people start collecting and there's no nothing, because I have to check a certified document that this is the father, and now we're going after the payment with your employer. There is no we just go after your employer and we just random people. Like I don't know what year you played you this happened with you, but maybe it was before DNA. But
Well,
I will say that if for whatever reason you were finagled because you wasn't married to her and somehow they just started collecting from you, right? Like you probably went through the court, not Department of Child Support. If you went to court, like whole court, and you seen a judge and the judge said, based on this right here, I'm telling you to pay, the judges have 100% say in everything. I went through the courts with my children's fathers, and they didn't, only one asked for a DNA test, and he got it because legally the judge had to stop the proceedings and give him his DNA test. But outside of that, that's not the case. But that's through the courts because of other circumstances we had going on. But when you go through Department of Child Support, which means that there's no summons, they got to actually verify. No, you must have a DNA test. But if you are married, no,
not like how you said, not if he already signed the establishment or the attestation of paternity.
Correct.
Which is the birth certificate. So if you already signed that, then there's no need for the DNA because you're listed on the birth certificate.
But see, I'm speaking of it in terms of it's a newborn child and there is none of that. And how did they collect child support on something they didn't know? But if you signed an affidavit that you the pappy, nigga, get off of here talking about something. She got you and didn't take a DNA test. You gave that shit away and said you didn't need it. Like, get out of here with that.
Exactly. But child, let's continue. Ooh, this is juicy.
Penalties for defamation are what the court's decision is, right? You want people to go to prison for defamation?
He had to go to 2 different countries to clear his name. Why isn't she in jail? He lost millions of dollars.
To be clear.
What you say?
Pearl might deserve to be in jail if she's arguing to be dishonest means you should go to jail. She should be in jail at some point too.
Let's continue. I'm not playing with you.
Clear. You think the penalty for defamation is prison time?
I think the penalty for a false accusation is that the woman should get the same time that he would have gotten if he was found guilty.
Men don't go to prison for defamation.
Right.
And see, this is the problem with feminists. You want all these freedoms, but you won't actually be equal.
But I do want equality.
No, if you wanted to be equal, you would fight for 50-50 child support, no alimony.
No alimony.
So this is the thing, right? And I'm trying not to get over this debate. I promise you I'm trying not to get over it. But I think the lesson that Pearl can take from this, because I'm also trying to be gracious in this conversation, is this is not your YouTube platform, right? So on your YouTube platform, you are very much niched in content, right? And we know what your content niche is by watching this video. It's anti-feminist, child support, alimony, and, equal penalties under the law. We'll give you a little grace on that umbrella. However, the range that you need to win a debate cannot focus on child support and alimony and a little bit of unequal sentencing, right? Because if you're going to be an anti-feminist, there is a lot more you need to talk about. Not only for you to actually stick a point in a debate, you have to talk about why women shouldn't be allowed to vote, how women voting has negatively impacted voting statistics historically, right? You have to say that women don't belong in healthcare, how women in healthcare historically has been a problem. You have to say that women don't belong in the workforce, right? Because that's the things that feminism has made happen, right? Different waves, different times for different reasons. You have to say how all of the things that feminism has accomplished for equality, how all of those things have been detrimental to society historically, not just men. Because newsflash, y'all not gonna like this one, every single thing that men and women complain about in regards to feminism was co-signed and approved by men. Maybe y'all don't understand that, right? For the first wave of feminism, there were actually men that were in support of the women's suffrage movement. This is a historical context. It's men that brought these laws in front of Congress to get these laws passed to give women rights. The birth control technology revolution. There weren't very many, if any, female congresswomen or senators to pass that law. It was men. Child support was established by men because the men were creating children everywhere and not taking care of them, as well as the welfare system. I believe the date of it was 1935.
That's right. Along with the statutory rape laws, because older men was taking advantage of young women and leaving them high and dry and sending them back to their parents to work on farms with extra children, and they couldn't basically auction their daughters off for marriage, and it created a burden on the society.
But also the alternative system was the infamous shotgun wedding. And when marriage rates declined, it was in 1964. Not because women were all of a sudden just randomly promiscuous, but because the birth control technology revolution made it so that men were no longer forced to marry women under the shotgun clause.
And that was enforced by the courts. It was enforced by the courts. You could not even court a woman, but after a certain amount of time, if she was a certain age, without it being something that she could take you to court for if you wasted her time. That is something that is real. Like, it had real effects on people. That's how serious marriage was on men. Don't waste these young girls' time, because it's worth something. And men was doing that, so they made the law for it. I know at your jobs, you all know if it's a rule because somebody was playing games, and now they had to make it a rule. Understands the same thing with laws too.
But let's continue.
Alimony. So again, if a woman decided to forego working, decided to stay home to raise the children, and the marriage doesn't work out, she's got no income whatsoever. She doesn't deserve any alimony.
Women aren't even doing that. Number one, that's not even women are not staying home with the kids. And number two, you have daycare.
A lot of women do these days.
You have daycare.
The traditional women who want to stay home, they want to be traditional wives. And you trash them all the time, which I don't understand.
Look,
it seems like women can't do anything right when it comes to you, right? They're stay-at-home moms. They're traditional.
I understand that you can personally attack me.
I'm not personally attacking you. These are things that you have said on the record multiple times.
Ma'am, you're a moron. And I really tried to be nice. You're a moron. You literally are saying that now you're saying that women don't stay at home. Women don't stay at home, but they also shouldn't get alimony. Well, if women are not staying at home and it's equal earnings, they're not qualified for alimony. So in order for the alimony to exist in the way that you think about it, they would have to be stay-at-home wives. I don't really understand what is the disconnect.
She talking on her ass. She don't know. She hasn't lived a life. Again, the disconnect is she following behind these black beta males, part of the manosphere, that got her thinking that there's this life, there's this earth someplace where all the women are receiving alimony, even though they were only married for 2 years and they only made, I don't know, $18,000 a year and shit. Like there's an earth someplace where that's happening. They convinced her of that.
Yes. They had to, because they only making $24,000. So how much alimony would you pay when you were making $24,000?
You ain't paying $400. I know that. And here's the thing: I know you ain't paying it more than a year.
But catch, alimony was more in the 60s before the birth control revolution than it has been after. Alimony accounted for 25% of marriages breaking up, right? In the 60s. Now it accounts for about 10, which means less than 10%. This is a reality. Matter of fact, don't take my word for it. I don't ever need you to take my word for it. Let me see if I can zoom this in so y'all can read along with me. Come on, read along with me. Unlike child support, which is common when a divorcing couple has kids, alimony awards have been very rare, going from about 25% of cases in the 1960s to about 10% today, said Judith McMullen, a professor of law at Marquette University. In one study of Wisconsin cases, she found it was only 8.6%. Now that women are paying alimony more often, they are getting involved in advocating for change. What? It's unfair for men to pay it and unfair for women to pay it. But women are much more outraged by it, says Ken Newman, a founder of the Academy of Professional Family Mediators. What you say? Did you say that women account for a portion of the less than 10% of alimony cases? Women are paying alimony too? But this is a man's world, I guess.
She ain't never been married, and all she got is her father and her mother, I guess, and some disgruntled people that feel that they shouldn't have to compensate their wives for what their wives sacrificed for in that marriage. And I want to say something too, because Anna isn't really slowing the conversation down. When Pearl asks us what is fair, right? This is a very subjective argument that she's trying to make here, right? And Anna isn't acknowledging the subjectivity of that statement and then giving her an object like response. She's not doing that. She's acknowledging that it is triggering to her, and she's acknowledging that there's some logic missing, but she's not actually giving the audience what the audience needs, so that there's no ambiguity around what she's saying. Because it is hard to pay out money when you're poor. It is. Nobody wants to pay out money when they're poor. Like spending $400 on your child per month specifically versus like maybe skirting that shit to somebody else or whatever. Like it is harder. It's harder to live just in general for people who can't afford it. So the issue is, like she said, well, isn't it hard on a man that makes $24K? Is it not hard on the people who's making over $100K? Like, should they not pay their taxes? Should they pay higher taxes simply because they make more money? Like, it's already hard on them. Like, this is a question where we don't care about what's hard. We care about what's right. If you make a child, you must pay for that child. The state can't mandate that you stay in a romantic relationship with someone that you created the child with. But the state can mandate, if you are unwilling to manage taking care of that child amicably, the state can mandate that. But that's the limit of the state. The state is not concerned with how you feel if the state has to jump into your personal affairs. It's just not. And there are some women, let's not overlook the women that try to deal with the guy without the state and ask for money as he can get it to them, and then they don't receive it. And sometimes they go without it for months, and then they get lied to, and then they don't get nothing at all. What about the women that are boss bitches that feel like, fuck that nigga, I don't need that nigga money, I got my What about them? What about them feminists? What about those women that don't care about receiving money from the guy, ain't asking for it? Where are they in the statistics? We don't know. Nobody tried to figure that out. This is what I'm saying. I don't like when I hear people who are supposedly educated passing their arguments off as something anyone should care about, when just simply because they have a platform. And I think that's where all of this is culminating at, because Pearl, if you see her holding that mic, she seems flustered. She's like, feminist, and I don't know what a feminist looks like. I don't know what a feminist is. It's like, if feminism is the reason why we got voting voting rights. What say you of electoral college?
Child, listen.
Like, I'm just saying, like, if feminism is the reason why I can work, my father is a feminist. My husband is a feminist. My children are feminists. My boy children they all feminists because they all want me to work. Like most people in Africa, like are feminists because all those women out there working, they selling shit, they in the fields, all them women in Asia and in rice fields and them farms, hot as it is out there working, like this whole idea of one income and a man having that one income, that's some very recent Americanized ideology that does not fit the last 12,000 years of reality.
But this is the thing, and this is where she loses the plot. You're right. Most men, in fact, are feminists. Even what she's saying right now, wanting women to be equal, not wanting men to have to pay child support, wanting men to take on custodial rights, that's actually a symptom of feminism. But I want to just look at this real quick, right? So the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers, according to them, 47% of divorce attorneys are now seeing an increase in the number of women paying alimony to a former spouse.
47%? Dang.
Ooh, he noted that women have earned more over the course of recent years, and in some cases, female spouses have displaced their male counterparts as the principal income earner in the household. Mm-hmm. Ooh, so, I mean, again, like people be talking, but they just be talking for real just to be breathing because they got lips on their face. But let's continue.
If you cared about equality, you would care about false accusations.
I do care about false accusations.
No,
you
don't.
You don't know me. What, you don't know what I care about.
Look, all right. Let's
that was personal. That's personal.
Men do not have the right to be enlisted in selective service. You know, we have 125K men who were drafted and buried overseas. Think about that over a second. You talk about the oppressions of the past, but how many men died in World War I and World War II and had no choice? And yet Anna complains about oppression. Men do not have the right to face their accuser in court when they have a false allegation and for personal protection orders that strips constitutional rights away from the man. Women go before a judge and say they don't feel safe, and more than likely a PP order will be issued. The man was not in court, had no say, has no defense, and does not get to face his accuser. That is done en masse, and many servicemen and first responders lose their careers over this because it strips a man's Second Amendment rights away based on no evidence. Men do not have the right to raise their children. Divorce is
First of all, JustPearlyThings, again, you're incorrect. It's a TPO that's given without anybody coming to court. That's a temporary protective order. In order for a longstanding PPO to be attained, the person that is accused has to, in fact, come to court to face their accuser.
Is no fault, but when it comes to child custody, it's always the man's fault. He loses his children to the system. 96 hours a month the father does not make. Men have longer prison sentences. Women get a third of the time for the same crime. Where are the feminists fighting for equality on that issue? There has been rampant discrimination against better qualified men in hiring across multiple industries. Men pay more child support, and child support orders are not enforced at the same rates between men and women. Women are more likely
women pay
not
child
to
support.
pay
Fascinating.
and are prosecuted for non-payment at lower rates. Men cannot opt out of parenthood.
Based on what study did she get that from?
Violence shelters, and are not taken seriously when they're
Listen, me and you could talk. We just gotta let her cook. We just gotta let her cook for a minute.
Okay.
domestic violence victims.
I agree on that.
White men in particular are discriminated against when it comes to hiring and educational attainment.
True.
The Duluth model is a model that law enforcement, courts, and counselors use automatically that assumes men are the aggressor. The tender years doctrine is a guideline in divorce used to justify.
Now, shit. See, I was trying to let her cook. I know plenty of women that have gone to jail. I know plenty of women that have been arrested at the scene of a domestic violence situation. Like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? Hi, coming to the 2020s. Police officer pull up on the scene. Whoever's the one acting a donkey, whoever is the one that doesn't have wounds on them is a person that's getting arrested. And most police officers, when they pull up to domestic situations, they take both people. Be quiet though. Just let her cook, child.
Removing the father from the child's life. The only institutional sexism that exists is institutional sexism that discriminates against men in favor of women. Furthermore, U.S. courts do not require receipts to show how that money is spent by the custodial parent, unless there's overwhelming evidence of starvation, malnutrition, or severe child abuse. There are numerous reports of custodial
You want the
parents
government
spending the
to check
money
receipts
on
and
luxury.
see, like,
let's let her respond to some of that.
hold on, let's understand something. You want government to be so big that you literally have the government looking at receipts to see what a mother is spending the money on? That's insane.
I want no child support, no alimony, 50-50.
Yeah, because you're crazy and you don't live in reality.
I want equality. I'm more of a feminist than you, Anna. Because I say if you want to vote, be in selective service. Be on the front lines just like the men are.
Okay.
Who do you think gives birth to and raises those soldiers?
What does that have to do with anything?
Because you assert that women shouldn't be allowed to vote because they're not all in mandatory military service.
I say be equal. You want to vote, do what the men do. Men are fined $125,000.
Should women be included in combat? Should women be included in combat?
Yes.
Okay.
Do what the men do.
Fair.
Do what the men do.
Yeah, fair.
Women are included in combat.
Next.
That's why she said fair.
Next. Nothing? Okay. I want to know what your ideal woman is, because if you are a traditional conservative woman who's married, staying at home, raising kids, you trash them.
There's no such thing as a traditional woman. They cannot be traditional in 2025 because women will always have the leverage.
What does that mean? What does it mean that women will always have the leverage?
Women have child support to fall back on. Women have alimony. So automatically
10% of divorces end with alimony settlements.
And
10%.
And they go.
You just ignore the stats.
They
You
go
just move
from
on.
men to women. They go from men to women. Billions of dollars every year.
I thought you said earlier that women are.
But that's not true. That's actually not true. We just looked at the information. A lot of women are paying child support. Are paying child support and alimony.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Alimony is only based off of marriage.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be boyfriend and girlfriend and get alimony ever.
Get alimony, no. You can't even have a baby with somebody and have alimony. So it's like,
right. So the fact that she's conflating the two, stop it. A woman that is seeking alimony and child support together jointly is a traditional woman. That's number one. Number two, she's just simply out of her gourd. Shout out to all the female veterans. Of course, women wouldn't get drafted for selective service because in the event that we have a catastrophic need to go to war, they want to send the strongest of us. That's number one. Number two, I don't even believe there is a draft anymore. You're talking about World War I and World War II. You mean during and after the Great Depression in the early 1900s?
but the problem with drafting women is women are the primary caretakers of children. If you draft the women and most of your women die, that's going to cause a direct issue with population. And then that, again, we're back at national security. If you don't have women making babies, you don't have an army, period. So they don't send the baby makers that make the men that they need to fight. That's just not how no kingdom, no nation has ever operated, which is the reason why Pearly is around what I call broke men. I mean broken men, because no man worth his salt is going to say, I think we would be a stronger nation if we had the women fighting out on the front line and signed up to go to war. Not the men's, just we want the women, but then the women are the ones tasked to stay home too, and tasked to take care of the children, and tasked to breastfeed. This woman right here, she's all over the place. I'm talking about Pearl. She is all over the place. And it's like, if you want to say women should equally have to work just as hard as men, when you go to your employer, does your employer ask you to do anything that it doesn't ask a male employee to do? Like, no, not at all, right? Like, that's not even the case. And I'm not even talking about in your higher echelons. I'm talking about regular, everyday, Target, state workers. It is equal, period. When it comes to working in factories, women are not given lighter jobs simply because they're women. That's not the case. When it comes to even, I want to say, well, not even that. I'm just going to say the idea of what men want, right, versus what they need are two separate conversations. Men want strong armies. Strong armies do not include women who have the propensity to not use firepower to save lives. That's not what men want. So women entering the army, like the military, come on now, there's some double standard. She talked about that on one of her podcasts. There's a double standard for men as well as women. And these are natural double standards. That is nobody's fault. It just is the way it is. So you can't argue that there's double standards in terms of strength, in terms of abilities, in terms of labor when it comes to family and so on and so forth. And then say, well, if you want equal rights, then you got to do exactly the same thing the men are doing. Men don't want to do exactly the same thing women are doing just to have equal rights towards anything. So it's like, come on. Like, I feel like if the only time these women is going to be tasked to use their degrees is, I don't know when, but like regular people got to actually use their smarts, then what point is going to school? Because this right here is a train wreck.
It is, but I want y'all to understand. World War I was 1914 to 1918. World War II was 1939 to 1945. Child, I'm not playing with this lady. Let's continue.
Billions of dollars of wealth every year is transferred from men to women.
Mm-hmm. Based on what? Where are you getting that information from? You're just making it up?
Look, we have it. We're excited. We can get it to you at the end. You didn't want to submit. Where are your sources? You didn't want to submit them ahead of time. You did.
The Census Bureau, Bureau of Labor Statistics. I cited everything I mentioned. Pull it up.
And who is we? And who is we? Did you need a team? You had a team. You had a team and you're performing this horribly?
Pearl, the main thing I want people to understand, okay, Pearl's going to trash women no matter what. That's fine.
I'm not trashing
But
them.
my biggest gripe with you is you're discouraging people from entering marriages.
I don't tell men what to do. Sell me on.
You advise men to avoid marriage.
Sell me on marriage. What do men get out of marriage?
That's sad. It's sad.
You're a woman. Are you?
Is she a woman?
That's a really odd question. What do men get out of marriage? When men's natural place in the ecosystem of life is to provide and protect.
For a family.
For a family. What men get out of marriage, Pearl, is access to one vagina. That is theirs. They get someone to raise their progeny, to build legacy wealth, to hand down to the next generations. And I pray to myself, your mother and your father are still married. So what does your father say that he gets out of marriage? Because your father, I try to give you the benefit of the doubt that you've been in a household where your father had to pay alimony or child support, and this has traumatized you. Your own father has a whole football team worth of kids, and him and your mother are still married. Where does this come from? Like, do you feel like your mother is stupid? Or maybe your mother is sleeping around on your father and your father doesn't want to divorce her because she will get a lot of money.
That's more so what's probably going on, which is what's underneath of this. But what's fueling this is all those conversations she's had with those knuckleheads that she's been hanging around. And she really think that she's making sense. You cannot sit and argue that women should be penalized for not being in a marriage, right? They should be penalized through different means because you're supposed to be able to keep your family together and also urge men not to get married but to still have sex and make kids. Like, you want the women to be penalized, but you don't want the men to be penalized. You want the women to be encouraged to build families and stay in marriages, but you don't want to encourage the men to do the same thing. This is what we call the devil's mind.
Right, and you want women not to have the right to vote when women didn't vote for any of these laws. Men did.
All of them was in here established before most of these voting rights came in, by the way.
Right.
That people think that pill, it really is.
All of that.
Like
birth control pill. Not one woman voted on that. Not one woman.
Just like did one woman vote on the repealing of Roe v. Wade? Like, what are you talking about? And then this is a woman that also believes that women shouldn't have the ability to have the right to choose. Right? She believes that if a woman gets pregnant, the woman should have the baby to term. And, I believe in controlling myself. I don't believe I should have control over nobody else's body parts, their children, their reproduction rights. Listen, if you want to go sleep around with everybody, that's your business. If you want them to put vacuum cleaners up your hoo-ha and suck out your baby, that's your business too. Like, ultimately, that's on you. If you want to take a bill and drop the baby out your body, that's your business. I don't care. But when it becomes my business is because this woman doesn't want men to pay child support, you want society then to have the economic burden of raising these children because unwanted children get left.
They do.
I'm not talking about that. Not even just by the fathers, by the mothers too. That's why they had to start building them lock boxes into firehouses and shit like that. Them little drop boxes for the babies. Wrap them up like and just drop them in there, and then somebody come and save your life. Yeah,
but Rod, there's men on both sides of the baby deletion argument. There's men that feel, hey, if I have sexual relations with a woman and I'm not ready for a baby, I want the right to say I don't want the baby, and we need to you go through the procedure. And then there's men on the other side to say, hey, if I want that baby, that's half my DNA. I want to be able, to say, hey, I want the baby, right? They both want choice in the matter. But there's this double standard that it's not in your body, right? And so if you're not married to the woman that you're talking about, you don't even have a seat at the table. Naturally, you don't have a seat at the table. Because you're not responsible for that woman. Like, you have no relation to that woman. I don't care if the DNA is in her body. Like, it's just not the way it is. So this idea that she's saying, well, talking about, baby deletion, it's like, unless you got a consensus that all men want all abortions to stop so they can start paying child support from inception now, because that's what's happening now. Now that in the United States, if you get a woman pregnant, you start in your child support at inception. Now they're gonna hold it in escrow until the baby comes. But then when that baby comes, that money is going right to that lady and or to the state where where based on who paid out. But now y'all got what you want. Ain't no more abortions like that no more. Like, it only like 2-3 states that even offer it up to 20 weeks. Nah, now y'all gonna pay full child support if you wasn't paying it before. So you got what you wanted, Pearl. No choices. You got what you wanted.
Child, let's let this play.
You get a partner, you get a teammate, You get to build a life together, and it's beautiful. I feel like misery loves company in this situation. And how would you know what you get out of marriage if you haven't experienced marriage in the first place? I'm not saying that as a personal attack. I really hope that Pearl meets the love of her life and gets married. It's not about that. But you trash it without really understanding what the benefits are.
Why do we have phrases like it's cheaper to keep her?
Pearl,
Are you serious?
divorce is expensive. And by the way, on purpose to discourage people from getting divorced in the first place.
Why do we have phrases like happy wife, happy life?
Because it's true. Same with happy husband, happy life. I don't want to come home to an angry husband.
But that's not a phrase.
Do you have any other like catchphrase or slogan you want to throw at me?
Huh? What were you saying, Lola?
She basing her argument on colloquial phrases, not reality.
Yep.
Okay.
That is what she's doing.
That's her evidence.
What do men get out of marriage?
They get a partner
That gains 25 pounds in the first 5 years.
Men get pretty fat too. I don't know if you've done a comparative analysis on that. They actually end up gaining more weight than their wives do. And who cares?
Men.
I mean, have a conversation with your partner. Encourage her.
Be
an adult.
How can men and women be equal?
Especially if she's giving you
How
children.
can men and women be equal when one is expected to die for the other?
What the fuck?
What is she talking about?
I don't expect any.
So here you go again, goofy lady.
Oh my God, child. I don't know if I'm gonna make it.
I know we not finna make it because I'm high key over it. Like, this is the level of stupidity that we are being subjected to. I'm really trying. I'm trying. But here's the thing. Women actually have a higher propensity to die during a marriage by childbirth alone. Like, what are we talking about? She can't be.
They're 10% and they cause so many
what?
problems.
Who cares what percentage women make up of the police force?
Yeah,
They're in the
they
police
can't-
force.
they
My
can't-
sister-in-law's a cop, actually.
They can't do the same jobs. There's videos on the
should
internet
see my
everywhere of
sister-in-law.
women getting their guns taken because they're not strong enough.
Are you just making things up? Pearl, what are you doing? Like, seriously. Next question.
We finally got to the part. She just froze. Why are you mad?
Do you realize how good you have it in this country?
Absolutely. Best country in the world.
And you get to live the life you live at the expense of men.
No, that's not true.
That is true.
Show me how.
Do you know how many men die every year? There are men that die every year to get you crab.
How many women die every year during childbirth?
Not many.
Ooh.
This country has the highest maternal mortality rate of any developed country. So
Right.
a lot of women do die as a result of pregnancy and childbirth. Yes. This is painful, man. Do you have any other questions for me?
Not right now.
All right. Should I move on? Like, what are we doing now?
Can I ask a couple questions?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Like, not her laughing. Woo, child. Listen, for those, like, I've heard a couple people make this statement that the mortality and morbidity rate in maternity wards are not what they say they are, right? In 2023, maternal mortality rates decreased significantly for white, non-Hispanic, and Hispanic women. The observed decrease for Asian and increase for Black, non-Hispanic women was not statistically significant. In 2023, the maternal mortality rate for Black women was 50.3 deaths per 100,000 live births. It was significantly higher than rates for white, 14.5, Hispanic, 12.4, and Asian, 10.7 women. Now, I'm going to leave this up here as I give you an anecdotal, right? When I gave birth to my son in 2017, 9 years ago, it was a cold, snowy night in New York. My water broke. I went to the hospital and I was in labor. They gave me an epidural. I was in the labor and delivery room trying to bring forth his life, and my blood pressure dropped to 50/35. I literally almost died while giving birth to my son. My husband was in the room while I was giving birth to my son, though, so he noticed an immediate drop in my blood pressure because I was just not acting myself. And he immediately pushed the button to get the nurses in the room, and they called a code. So my life was spared. There are plenty of mothers that go to the hospital, though, into the labor and delivery wards by themselves, and they do not make it home. Now, at the same time that I was giving birth to my son, my best friend almost lost her life and the life of her child. Now, my goddaughter is 6 weeks younger than my son. There was an abruption to her placenta. My goddaughter should not be here. Neither should she. Because that baby existed inside of her womb with no amniotic fluid. And she almost died before we got her to the emergency room. I have 2 family members within the past 10 years. One of my friends had a baby pass away in her womb. She was 6 months pregnant, and she had to carry around her dead child in her womb for at least 2 weeks before her body could adequately expel the baby, which put her life in danger because she had the probability to fall under sepsis as tissue was decaying inside of her body. Another family member was pregnant all the way up until the due date, gave birth to the baby, and the baby was born, still born. So before people get on social media platforms and try to minimize or diminish maternal mortality, especially in women of color, I suggest you do just a little bit more research. Blessings and prosperity to everyone that has not had to deal with a family member that lost their life during childbirth, almost lost their life during childbirth, bled out shortly thereafter for disparities in healthcare in regards to women of color, which that is very much a real thing. I work in healthcare right now, and I'm telling you for a fact, if you do your research and you look at the studies, there are major disparities in healthcare to people of color, because when they look at people of color, they, number one, always feel that we are drug seeking. And number two, they always feel that we have a higher pain threshold.
I don't know what's up with that.
They have a high tendency to overlook symptoms if they don't feel these are symptoms appropriate for a person of color. But let's continue with this fuck ass debate for a little bit longer.
Let's just jump in here. So why don't we do this? I'll ask you one, and then I'll ask you one, and we'll kind of go back and forth. I kind of half jokingly said at the beginning, like Pearl had mentioned, I think you actually said it here too, that you believe you may be more of a feminist. Do you consider yourself to be a feminist, and how would you define that?
I don't consider myself to be a feminist, mainly because it's a loaded word, and there are certain outcomes from certain waves of feminism that I don't agree with, particularly minimizing the importance of men in society. I do think that there is, especially the third wave of feminism that's done that. I personally really value masculine men, and I don't appreciate feminists speaking on behalf of all women in regard to what women prefer. I think the Me Too movement started off as a legitimate grievance with women who were legitimately abused, and it devolved into something laughable and ridiculous, especially when, someone like Aziz Ansari gets accused of being like some sort of sexual predator when he clearly wasn't. So I just don't like how loaded that word is. What I actually genuinely want is equality among the sexes. I'm not looking for women to have an upper hand over men at all. But we need to be based in reality, and we need to look at the statistics and figure out what's really going on. If men are getting a raw deal as a result of divorces, then yeah, the laws need to change. And I genuinely thought prior to this debate that they were getting the raw end of the deal. But as I researched this, I realized I was believing in outdated myths. So, yeah.
Pearl, let me.
I don't even care to hear what Pearl has to say, because at this point, it's not a debate between her and Pearl anymore. And 15 minutes into the debate, Pearly caved. She took that whole L, right? But as we wrap this up, I want us to look at something that JustPearlyThings said on her show. Because even though she couldn't come up with words and she was really stuck on one note, this was a statement made during her live stream.
An asinine comment made by Anna. We just want the same parenting time as mothers. Gavin saying you had a kid the whole time while she was on was hilarious. I think you cooked her. She just relied on name calling and Botox jobs. Yeah,
It literally said Botox jokes. So maybe that was the issue during the debate. She couldn't read her notes.
I didn't rage quit. But do you know what I thought? There was a point where I did want to throw hands. I'm not going to lie. She's like 5'1".
Ain't that the epitome of a masculine bitch?
Yeah,
throwing hands over conversation, and not even personal conversation. Like we talking about national statistics. You want to throw hands because a chick got a little bit more debate power than you, and she know a little bit more academically than you about sociology and things like that. You want to throw hands. This is the type. I'm sorry if there's anybody in the audience, but this is what. This that diabolical right here that certain people had made whole videos about, but then they said it was only on the black side, and I'm like, no, say this right here, this right here is what will draw you in and spit you out 6 ways to Sunday. Okay, this right here.
You cutting up. Let's. We not listening at all. Then we just listen to a couple minutes. Let's just let her finish, and then we go give our final little conversation on this nonsense.
I thought about it. I'm like,
did she get surgery on her face?
But I'm bigger than you. I could body you. Do you know what I mean? I'm like,
Body you. Pause. Where do you get that rhetoric? I'm a body somebody. Like, who you been around saying I'm a body a bitch? Who you been around saying that?
Wait, this is Lola, just hold it. No, just hold it. Let's listen to this whole rhetoric.
Bottom of the barrel Negroes got this bitch using that slang, and she don't even know she giving up the game. All right, let me let shit.
to men. But I'm bigger than you. I could body you. Do you know what I mean? I'm like,
That's not what body mean, bitch. But okay.
I will, yeah. I know, but I have this fear of me of the police. I never want to like get in trouble in that way. But you know, I'm getting older, and have you noticed the older you get, I'm like, do you know what? I could catch a charge.
Catch a charge.
Yeah, I don't know. She was a little ghetto, you know.
Ghetto.
I know I was too polite.
See, this is what I'm saying. This bitch right here is your most diabolical racist bitch right here. And when she think about black men, right? She think about some old sadistic shit, because she's not here on behalf of white men. She's here on behalf of black men. She's using black men rhetoric, black men talking points. She's using black men's mannerisms. You see what I'm saying? She's not talking about anything that has much to do with her own community of people. She's not talking about anything remotely about them. She's steeped in the black manosphere, and it's like, it's so clear. It's not even a matter of being a pick-me at this point. She want to fight people, other women. This chick Anna is married with children.
But this is the thing.
With dry dick niggas.
Nah, this is the thing you need to understand, right? She wants to fight Anna because Anna is the aesthetic and she's not. Anna fits the Caucasian beauty standard. Why Just Pearly Things is so enamored with African American men or, you know, ethnic men is because she has a greater chance of being chosen with an ethnic man than she does with the Caucasian.
She do. I give her that. If that's the reason, well, that okay. I see why you mad. I see why you mad. Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? Like that's all it boils down to as far as her dancing along color lines. The reality is Pearl looked a fool and she was underprepared. And I do blame that on everybody that has platformed her since she came up on the scene. Because while y'all thought y'all were doing your big one, right? Letting her have the advantage over loyal panelists that have been on your platforms, what you didn't allow her to do was have the ability to strengthen her stripes, right? This is a kitten, a cub in a lion's den. You went up against someone with a master's degree in political science. She doesn't have a master's degree in basket weaving. And she has a personality, an affect, and a presentation to take all of the information that she's gleaned over the years and spit it back to you in an engaging way. And you disrespected her first. You were interrupting her during her opening statement. You were making disparaging remarks to her. And when she clapped back, then you got in your feelings. Just because you said it underneath your breath, I don't know if you forgot you were mic'd. The mic picked it up because we heard it. And she said her barbs back with her chest out. She stood on business. Like you even talking about her husband was out of pocket. Her husband wasn't a part of the conversation. You don't have a husband to talk about. Right. But she can talk about your height though, because you're standing right there and he's about the same height as you. That hurts your feelings. See, me, I'm a smart ass. I would have said, damn, he's short. But I know where you were going with that, and so did she. You were going to the manosphere talking point of the 666. You were about to ask her if he earns over 6 figures.
Mm-hmm.
You were about to say, does he have a 6-pack or 6 inches? That's what you were about to do, because that is what this space has conditioned you to do. And that is to your detriment. Even in watching the bits and pieces that I watched of your responses to her, you want to throw hands. You're worried about catching a charge. You talk about you going to body somebody over a debate.
Academic debate at that.
Yikes. This is when you just go and take some classes. You do some media training. You polish up. You refine your argument so that the next debate that you have, you can be rapid fire. And you're not sitting there unfrozen. I don't know. This has been a piece of content.
But bro, I heard that she was, starting to talk against, men or specifically black men lately. She's had a bit of a dust up with black men. And I take it that whatever rhetoric she's spewing over black men, that where she's disgruntled, it might have something to do with her being, let's say, discarded by a black man. Like most of these females that get into a relationship and they can't hold, their panties up right, and they want to go on a tirade about how all men ain't this and how they swearing off men because their relationships didn't work with a couple people that they met, like that immature shit. Because of course she's a chameleon.
Here's the thing.
She's a chameleon for real.
I don't even care. If I'm going to be honest, I could care less. Because what a lot of people fail to realize, right, not only having knowledge behind talking points, but do debate prep with strong debaters to get her stage ready. Exactly. Like you sat there and you read. I gotta be careful what page.
Paperwork over shit. Like the whole time.
You were over here like this, and the cat in the hat was fat and sometimes black with a stripe on his back, like
talking points. Manosphere talking points. She thought she was gonna say it, and then the audience was gonna really get on her side, and then somebody's gonna pause and go to commercial break and take some super chats so she could seem like she got some shit off, but it didn't work this time. So
it was the freeze for me.
The freeze. Oh yeah. I mean, I expected that at some point.
But that was horrible. You literally, you didn't have any other questions for this woman, except for we live in a society that men built. Okay, genius, we know that. And a salute to all of the men in the fishing industry. Because while you talking about the crabbers, hell, me and Lola could go crabbing. It's not that deep.
I've been crabbing.
Right. Let's talk about how you would have tuna fish. Let's talk about those men, because we're lifting up marlins that are hundreds of pounds. That's a better example for you to use. You understand what I'm saying? Let's talk about miners that go underground while there are some people that are now spelunking in caves and winding up terminated. Right. Shout out to those people. Shout out to the people that actually, make the country run in sustainable ways of all genders. Shout out to everybody that does the dangerous job. We appreciate and salute you. It's not a talking point over here. But while you want reverence for the dangerous jobs, what I did see as a categorical symptom is you didn't want to give reverence. You didn't want to give an inch at all to mothers.
At all. Because
in your mind, mothers are dependent on alimony and child support. Newsflash. No. Most mothers that don't get that $400 and something a month still take care of their children every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of if they're on Health and Human Services, they are still present and in the room every day taking care of them kids. Black, white, Spanish, immigrant, nationalist. They're still taking care of their children.
Still up in there.
Where, on the other hand, is men, if they have a craw in their cap about paying child support, they will disengage and disassociate from the children and the mother because they can't get along with the mother. I'm just saying real quick, a lot of the talking points that a lot of people have, and I've listened to for several years, let this debate between Anna and Pearl be the reason why you stop.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I rocks with Anna. I'm about to be fully subscribed over there, checking out what she's talking about. I'm sure she's going to say some things I don't like. She strikes me as a very spirited and opinionated. But
she you might like her. I've been following her for about a year with the Young Turks, and she knows her shit. Well, in terms of international matters, she knows her shit.
Okay, I'm gonna have to definitely tune into that. But at the end of the day, like this is information that not only I, but several other female content creators in the manosphere have told y'all over years. Hi, love. Have told y'all over years.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all are out here playing the victim Olympics. Okay? And let me...
Extra.
Women are paying alimony too. Women are paying child support too. Of course, the numbers are not going to be 50-50 split because the majority of y'all are not asking for custody.
She's using that little percentage of people, like the two guys that was on the panel over there when she was in over there, and I forgot where she was at, in London maybe. And they said, well, I was fighting for my child and there was a problem and the judge just wouldn't help me, right? Meanwhile, people aren't telling you the whole truth of the case, but she's using that anecdotally to say that, oh, well, this is what it is, when in truth, when you really do your own survey, and this is what I'm saying, doing her own survey is free. She don't need a grant from the government to do her own survey. She could have used her check and say, hey, I'm doing a survey. How many people age such and such and such and such have experienced this and got this outcome? Let's just see randomly. And she used all of that data and say, hey, I have an audience made up of Black people, white people, da. And when I ask these questions, these is what I get. These numbers are measurable and it's over time. And this is what I have found. She could have did that, but she ain't doing nothing because, basket weaving.
Nah, because she's interviewed 1,000 people or 1,000. Did she say 1,000? Over 1,000, or did she say a couple thousand? I don't know. She interviewed a negligible amount of people in the global population. So again, that was a really bad.
She's so animate about marriage, yet she isn't married. She's so animate about women taking men for all their money, yet she's not helping no man get to no money. Like, she's so animate about, child support, but you don't see her gifting money to funds that help fathers in need of, counsel, or, let's say fathers and children's homeless shelters, because there's more shelters for women and children, but not as many shelters for men and children. That's a thing too. See what I'm saying? Men can't get into those women and children's only shelters because they're men and they want to separate the two. So they have to go in low barrier shelters where they don't want their children around, stuff like that. That sort of shit happens to single fathers. Do you think she donated $1,000 to any fund or anything to help that? No, but she up here talking shit to people who literally are not in any circumstance that can help any of these situations whatsoever. 70% of the people she talking to don't even apply in the situation. Only 30% that are married. And out of them, less than 10% is who her target audience is. Less than 10% of the 30%. And I'm tired of doing percentages of percentages. This is a really small minority of people. And in America, right? 3% of the population should not control the other 97%. It really should.
Here's the thing. Can't nobody control you unless you let them.
That part.
So, and apparently, I'm about to say this. Yeah, I'm about to say this. When the manospheres are talking about basket weaving degrees, this woman has gone to college, an institution of higher learning. And this was the best debate that she had to offer up. I am really disgusted. I'm disgusted. Like,
disgusting.
I'm appalled. I'm appalled. But she did also say in that show she took an L, that she didn't deserve it and she shouldn't have been there. And I agree. Not because
it's embarrassing because now whenever she goes someplace, she has to contend with that loss. Because it wasn't just like she lost the debate and she got a couple of them under her belt. No, she lost the debate for the same reasons why she lost the debate to you when she came up on a stage you was on one time and still lost. I remember she came up and said some shit and you chimed in. And I think it was more than once, but one time your computer shut and you was getting ready to tear her a new one. Okay. Like, she ain't saying nothing new that people ain't been debunked. She just got on that platform because of this, okay? Because there's plenty of people look like me and you that did what Anna did.
Exactly, and here's the thing. Shout out to B. Taylor. You came at B. Taylor about her roster. Meanwhile, you have a roster. It got exposed, number one. And B. Taylor could have been in that room with Anna, and she would not have been embarrassed to that degree. Hey, Tina. She would have held her own in that conversation. See, because the point, it's not really about degrees, right? Like, it's hella dope. And shout out to Anna, girl power, right? That she has a master's in political science. However, you were not prepared for that debate.
Right.
We know that you weren't prepared for that debate simply because you were up there like this. Well, you didn't want to miss a word, which also tells the viewing audience that you're disingenuous. You are not an authentic content creator, because this is literally the same talking points you espouse every single place you go. Those statistics, you should know them like you know the back of your hand. You should know them like you know your heartbeat. You should never have to look at a paper in order to respond. Another note before we get up out of here. Whenever you go to a debate forum, you don't write on letter-sized paper, because you don't write out your whole speech. What you do is you write words or phrases to trigger a memory, to recall what you have already studied. So you should have flashcards, something that preferably can be tucked discreetly into your hand. But I'm just a black chick from the hood, right? Right. Anyway, girl, what's your final thoughts? Because
listen, if she had a team of people that was responsible for doing research and analysis, and people that that was their task to help her understand what she should say, what she shouldn't say, how to say it, like how to rebuttal, the things they can expect the Anna to say. If she had a whole team of people and this is what you paid them to do, I wish you would talk about some you employ black people. You listen. Go get you some white people, okay? Next time. Go get some white people for you, shorty. Because at this point, we don't need you, okay? Whoever you paying, you must not be paying them enough to help you for real. Because I could have did much better for the free. But I wouldn't do shit for you for free. But it's like this is weird. This is weird. It's worse than saying women only get basket degrees. Women, according to Pearl, women could get all the science degrees they want, and then turn out like Pearl, not knowing how to argue a point, being masculine while masquerading like you're so feminine because you think you put on a dress. You're not. Everyone sees through you. The only people that don't see through you is the people who just want to fuck you and discard you, like the black men that you have dealt with, that we know that you have been in relationship with, taken care of with your father's money. Like, you are the typical female that black men like to fuck on. You just are. And I mean, that we know that. But there's a reason why you're not married. There's a reason why you don't have no prospects. And it's not because of how you look. It's not because of how you look. I assure you. It's not. Okay? All those men that is in your chat, none of them want to take you out. Come on, Pearl. Come on. Men use women just like women use men. And your audience and that little pool of people you've been around have used you for a long time. And there's certain platforms you've been on, that one I met you on, okay? They did you no justice by allowing you to come up and spew dumb shit. And then when you get in front of the world, now you can't even speak anymore, because you've been so cultured to be so fucking dumb that you can't even go back to your own community and speak anymore, because you done let them niggas fuck you up. But you know what? Good for you, bitch. Okay, may you go back home and have a real candid conversation with your father about why he didn't use a condom, okay? But that's all I got to say about you. Okay, shout out to Anna and the Young Turks over there. Okay, you guys are fighting for the American people. I'm glad it's America first somewhere. Okay, but shout out to y'all. But this was fun. I always like to check in on some of my most hated content creators. I like to check in sometimes, but it's been nice.
Yes, this definitely has been a good conversation, and I just want to say, before everybody else in the space gets to reviewing it, FBI did it first. Thank you kindly, because y'all scared. Now I want to see y'all do yoga and try to make her feel like she won a debate that she got completely eviscerated in. That being said, it's your girl Raji and your girl Miss Oshun. Please make sure you guys go follow Vic and Lola. Vic and Lola have a channel and they did a great show last night. Okay, make sure you subscribe over here. When you catch the replay, hype it up. Those of you that are Pearly fans, God bless you. She did you very, very proud. And if you're mad at this content simply because you're a fan of hers, then I advise you to run it back and just listen to the video without looking at the skin tone, because the empirical data is clearly immutable. And if you don't know what that means, look it up. Stop thinking that everybody that has different colored skin than you is hating on you. And stop underestimating and undervaluating the intelligence of people based on your preconceived notions and your stereotypes. Take care, everybody, and God bless.
Got a lot of hit records, several flicks on TV. When I was pressing up them CDs, y'all did not believe me. Hit the pressure, go to Louis, then I stop at Neiman's. Then I sped off in the Guinea, this did not come easy. Freedom Thinkers Apparel, I learned a lot from Yeezy. When I was locked up phone home, I learned a lot from E.T. Rolled the dice, I did it AC/DC. Did it Vegas nights with Brandon B. The dealers in house was glad to see me. Was making bags at a stowaway house. Had to fight through the confusion, had to shoot our way out. Shout out to all the women holding lead in they blouse. The street life is in the losing, this a better way out. Yeah. Put you pussies in your proper place. Money is the only thing I gotta chase. Every other head I gotta race. They want me give it to them, but they gotta wait. Phone ringing, 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 ringing. Phone keep ringing, 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 ringing. Phone ringing, ringing. that it's over, folks have vanished quick. My kidneys failed, I looked around and they abandoned ship. Rock dropped me, looked around and they abandoned ship. But these hoes still top me, they want a bandit dick. I'm the man again, feet on land again. New kidney, we eating lamb again. Might spot me in a lamb again. Dior cardigan, free did it before all of them. In Seattle with Lido at the Sheraton. These grown men embarrassing. My cell phone keep ringing cause they want me to carry them. Barbarian, y'all scrambling, pocket watching niggas, coke following.